Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Life Discussions with Dr. Jefferson. I am your host, Dr. Jefferson, and tonight we're going to just basically have some general conversation around accountability, and we're going to talk heavily around a couple of topics when it comes to the way culture resonates with us as people that identify with the Black and the Brown community in America. Um, I think it's really important that we have these conversations because, to be honest with you, if we don't find what resonates, if we don't find out what resonates with us, if we don't give ourselves space to become who we really are authentically, we're not doing our due diligence. And I definitely want to know from you guys what you feel shapes and molds some of the underpinnings of, you know, personal identity or racial or gender identity of our young people. I think more often than not, we're having people who are identifying as gender nonconforming, as non-gender conforming. Is that one and the same? Intersex, transgender. All of these people who are identifying like this are not a part of what pop culture at one particular time saw fit for identities to be. So society is shaping in a different way. We're having a different perspective being presented as far as what it is that we accept. What are you doing, toxic money boy trade? And so, with that being said, I think that it definitely brings us to a place where we have to have a conversation, because if you think about some of the things that used to mold and shape the behaviors and the mind frames of so many people, we've gotten completely away from that. Hey Liz, how are you? And so we have evolved so far away from the basic underpinnings of what shapes movements and behaviors of Black and Brown people that I think now we have a need for all of these content creators that we have on YouTube. But also, I've had a really difficult time with taking some of these content creators seriously. I don't know about you guys, but those are my general reflections. I think that one of the followers on this page mentioned the other day that they thought I was anti gay because I did a review on Kevin Samuels and held Kevin Samuels accountable for calling to the assistance of the LGBTQIA plus community. Hey, Joy, what's going on? And I found that to be very interesting. I think it's interesting that people make some generalized assumptions of who we are as people, even as content creators, when your content is not personally driven or personally related. And so for me, this is accountability station, right? So my personal views have nothing to do with the level of accountability that I hold people to when it comes to what the standard is across a cultural domain. Does that make sense? Those are not one and the same. And so for me, it's really about connecting the dots of alignment when somebody says they believe in a certain thing. For example, if we were to talk about accountability conversations around Dr. Umar Johnson and some of his rhetoric, if you say that you believe in reconditioning and reconstructing the Black and Brown community and that these boys are so lost and what they really need is the proper representation at the top. Right, right, Liz. It's, if that's what you say you believe in, right, whether or not that aligns with my personal belief system or not, that has nothing to do with me holding him accountable when he goes out and in the same breath, in the same space, says those some of the boys on the corner have got to be put to sleep for good. I can't psychologize them. Isn't that what he said? Psychologize them. Gotta put them like a horse. Right. So when you're saying that you want to be the savior of Black and Brown boys, and then right, you're sending a conflicting message, because all Black and Brown boys' lives should be mattering. Right. And even I had a problem with the whole Black Lives Matter rhetoric, because I feel like that pushes further division in us as well. Because what that's saying is that we don't recognize that there is currently an issue in our community that drives people to devalue us instead of value us in the way that we see ourselves. So if we were to say Black Lives Matter too, our lives matter as much as yours, or our lives matter as much as the lives that you show that you value, that would have been a whole different conversation. And accountability conversations around that is to say that Black and brown people, of course, thank you, need to do better when it comes to having the difficult conversations in our community around community violence. Intersectionally, we should be talking about what it is that we can do to improve the odds of violence not being a cycle that's perpetuated. And as a woman who has had the exposure to, I guess what most people would say is traditional cultural upbringings, I've seen traditional American for Black people. And I can't buy into the idea that poverty is something that drives crime in the Black community. And poverty is something that makes Black people kill each other, because Black people have been in poverty for ages, but they weren't killing each other because they valued themselves, they valued numbers, they valued culture. And the one thing that I see that is different now versus then, if I had, the moment to sit down and have a conversation with a young Black person, the first thing I would ask is, whose church were you raised in? Right? What church have you gone to? And what did that look like for you? Right? If we were to have that conversation today, I don't know how many of you are between the ages of 40 and 60 on here, but if you're between the ages of 40 and 60, type of one in the chat. If you are under the age of 40, type of two in the chat. Because that conversation will look very different if you had that conversation, or the other person that are the twos would have had that conversation. And I'm just going to be honest about that part. But if we were to sit down and have that conversation with some of these young men, the reality would be, I don't believe in all of that, because that's how they move. They don't have anything anchoring them to any value system at all that teaches them that it's wrong for them to murder each other in insurmountable numbers. That's the reality. And so, okay, Liz, so you can identify. Now, if the conversation was had with yourself or people that were raised with you, how many people do you think would answer the question, I was raised in such and such church? The vast majority would. But in these people who are under the age of 40, they can't they can't give you a name of any church that they were raised in, and some of them can't give you a name of a church that they've ever been in outside of being there for a wedding or a funeral. And so for me, what that says is that we're not minding our cultural norms the way that our cultural norms were initiated initially. However, we're clinging to the components of our culture that gives us a certain level of entitlement to goods, to funds, etc. So what does that say about our modern day Black and brown people, or people of indigenous, or indigenous people of color, those who identify with this particular group of folks? Like, what does it say about us? What does it say about the way that we view legacy lines and things like that? So when I see the abundance of men and women that are on YouTube that are in the Black community going head and head against each other, and I see content creators like Cynthia G creating her content, and she's calling Black men struggle dusty, trash bag, what, bandits? Three trash bag struggle dusties, I guess. So you said there was more crime and poverty in the 60s, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s than now, though. No, there were more petty crimes during that time. There was not Black men killing Black men at these numbers. Period. Period. During the 90s, when the kids that were born in the early 80s, late 70s, started to take on their teenage years, gang activity, etc., we saw an increase in crime in America. Why? Because these people felt like poverty was a good enough excuse, because they didn't go through integration post segregation. People who went through integration, post segregation, inside of them there was a reluctance, because what inside of them, they were all raised very spiritually. That's the only thing that was different. Because you may have been free in America, you may have been free from slavery, but you were never free from the constraints and the bounds of cultural identity as a Black American person. Right. Three trash bag carrying struggle dusties. There we go. Why does she have to be so long-winded in that name? Like, I cannot get it. I'm trying really hard though, because I'm getting Kevin Samuels. I mean, you're average at best. Like, you people, I didn't pay him. I promise I didn't pay him. What you won't do is talk over me. See, I can do Kevin Samuels because, like, even though I've only watched, I'm gonna be honest, maybe like 9 or 10 of his shows in its entirety, and that's a lot for me. Okay, he has a pretty consistent way of devaluing women, getting rid of women. Did you guys see that clip that I played of him having the conversation with the white woman and he called her a Karen? And he act like that was a win, and you keep muting. That's so disrespectful. Right, gonna call her rugged, and when she takes offense to it, you have offense that she's taking offense to you calling her out her name. Like, have I disrespected you? Yeah, I know your show will disrespect women and call Black women bitches, but today you're not doing that because I'm not here for that. You know what I mean? Like, and that's another thing that I think that's that happens in an abundance. Black women allow themselves to be disrespected and continue to hold space for those same people that disrespect. That's probably one of the main reasons why I cannot take Kevin Samuel seriously, because there is no way. There's just no way. Oh, yes, there is. He's talking to women in their 20s and their early 30s. So maybe their tolerance level is higher for disrespect because their music in their generation of culture perpetuates that cycle of disrespect. But women took over and started to disrespect themselves. So the word bitch and the word hoe and things like that, these kinds of things are more normalized, I believe, in these generations of women. So now it just made sense now that I'm kind of really thinking it through. Um, you said that video revealed more about himself than he could imagine. And I said the exact same thing, Hey Miss Faith, how are you? But I felt like there has got to be something that we can go to and say the personal accountability standards in the Black community has shifted drastically. And the only thing that I could think of, like I said, was religion, because religion is something that grounded and seeded what it meant to be resilient, what it meant to be an ancestor of a slave, what it meant to go forward and do something great just so you could live a life that was free in spite of what was intended for your ancestors. So it was about honoring the people that came before you. And because you felt compelled to honor the people that came before you, you move differently. These people now, they don't have the same level of respect, and they don't have the same level of regard for those people. Said, look up the murder rate in Chicago and New York. It's the highest in the night. I just said it. I did say in the 90s, right? I know what the crime rates are. I'm really up to date on those stats. So I did say that that's when those kids that were born in the early 80s and very late 70s, from 78 to 90, I mean to 85, that's when they became teenagers. They're that's the problem group. That's what I identified. Hey Beverly, how are you? Oh goodness. But yeah, Trey. Somebody get Trey off my chat. Well, Trey, while you out there, I hope you moderating. But so I think that when we go to the root of the problem, that is the only thing that is incongruent in these different generations of people. And also the other thing I say, what's going on, the official urban thread? Don't be over here trolling. But that's the only thing that I say is different across the board. And I ask Black people not only Oh man, why do you have to do that? So on this show, you guys, you cannot say hey to the producer. He's a non-factor.
Hey,
Just play.
how did hear that work out?
I'm gonna be like Kevin Samuels.
You know,
You're not gonna talk all over me. You're not gonna
you
take on my
know.
show. but no, but no, seriously. I think that the only thing that's different is the fact that there is no conditional element to replace religion if we're going to say that we are people who are free of religious oppression. You know what I mean? Because these are some of the things that I hear from kids that are around their 30s. Y'all men so disrespectful.
That's all you love,
So
man.
for those of you who were born before 1975, right? And you don't have to necessarily say what year it was. I want you to let me know how you feel about the community that now we're responsible for raising, the culture that we're responsible for rendering culture to. And if you feel like
Little Trey play.
that's a part of the problem, us, the us component.
Little Trey play.
He said, go on strike,
He
sir.
told me to go
Get
on
that off my
strike.
screen.
He told me to go on strike.
Y'all gonna get him fired.
That's just my boy bag from you. I run this shit. That's right.
I just cannot. I cannot. I just can't.
Mm-hmm.
The toxicity. Don't bring that toxicity over here now.
Oh man.
So this is what I say. I think prayer and the power of prayer and the power of religion tethered people to spirituality. It gave them something to dress the part for, to look the part for. And as a result, your ancestor would, be proud of how you've continued their legacy lines, how you've made their death mean something, that they didn't die in vain, right? And so you're honoring what their belief systems were. And what is that? My great great grandmother, she used to always say, as a slave, they had the hope of a slave. That's something that she used to teach us about. And I thought it was amazing that this past weekend, one of her first cousins was celebrating a birthday. No, one of my grandfather's first cousins was celebrating her birthday, Alice, and she turned 100 and what, 101, 102. And one of the things that Alice was saying, because we had a family reunion over the weekend, and one of the things that Alice was saying is that, she had been watching and listening and things like that. And I didn't even know she was watching. She don't know how to get on YouTube and press or comment or nothing like that. But she definitely is cognitive and can move these YouTube streets, these internet streets, surprisingly. But one of the things that she mentioned as we were having a conversation is that she does feel like more and more people don't know their history. For us, we're, kind of just looking at so much of our family members who still live in Tulsa, the ones who moved abroad and things like that, where they in different places where they reside. Our culture still runs very deep, and we're a family who is like really deep when it comes to history. On my American side of the family, they have just as much value about their history and around their history and becoming as my Finnish side of my family. But what I see for American people in general is that none of them can connect to any of these slave ancestors, any of these descendants that they identify with the pain from and they want the reparations for. So you want these reparations, but you have zero legacy lines that you can go back and tie. And you can say, yeah, my ancestor did or didn't get any reparations because you believe some misstep, some misconstrued notion that there were no reparations rendered. And that's interesting to me. That's all very interesting to me. But I say it's religion. What do you guys think is the difference between how these young people think today and versus how older people think and how the older generation thought when they were younger? Let me see if I can. I cannot. I just can't. I'm gonna need you to stop typing comments over there and find my content, sir.
I know that's just like the one up I ain't.
Oh, welcome back, Beverly. Cause he not on his job. He over there doing other stuff. No.
I don't see what you got on here.
But hold on. I cannot find my my chart. Hold on. I'm gonna find the crime stats chart and I'm gonna ask you guys some questions about what you feel compares. I mean, what is the underpinnings of these particular. Where are you? That's not it. There it is. Okay. So it's coming up now. Hey Lawrence, how are you? Remember when we looked at this conviction rate and crime, and we looked at and we identified with what areas black people were more than likely responsible for and other cultures were responsible for, and we're looking at the numbers, to date. What do you guys see? I'm going to ask you now, what do you guys see as the major components of responsibility? And I want to know how many people here live in Chicago, New York, or Atlanta, or LA County. Hold on. What do you guys see though when you look at this and you're trying to do a comparative analysis of which crimes represent the things that black and brown people, or the people who identify with our community for the most part, what do you see on this chart that's reflective of us? Says if you're going to, I can't see it because of my thing. Hold on, let me make this bigger. If you're going to break with history in relation to African Americans, a more interesting starting point is post Civil War Reconstruction on up. Well, that's kind of what we talked about, because we talked about the transition from segregation, because segregation was post Civil War, to integration. Integration is post segregation, to where black and brown people were now integrated in not only school systems but workforces and common places, and they started to mitigate some of the laws in the 50s around um, neighborhood capacity. You couldn't buy a house in a place where it was vast majority black or vast majority white, right? So we talked about it coming up to now. And to be honest with you, that's kind of where things started to get a little bit different, look a little bit different when it comes to crime stats. Because even though we moved out of the regulatory authority of maintaining or having land in the same space as other people of other cultures, the mindset was very divisive still. So there were still a lot of black and brown people, which is why I feel like there are so many black people now in America that have these racist undertones as to how they see prosperity. So they feel like they have to have separate spaces for black people because they can't be safe in the spaces as white people, because they've been told by their older generation black, people in their family, that there were no safe spaces for them, that slavery was a thing, and that slave owners and slave masters who were white were raping slaves. And these are not, lies. However, when you start to take that vicarious trauma, because that's what that is, when you're telling somebody that kind of stuff, when you start to take that vicarious trauma and you're trying to frame that into something productive as to how we can move forward as a community, we lose sight of the fact that we already were moving forward as a community. So we start to repeat history, because now the mindsets that we're conditioning in the young people is that of history. It's not present day. So, excuse me, there was, who was that content creator? Cynthia G. There was a female content creator, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I know some of you listen to Cynthia G's content, but I think it was Cynthia G, and she mentioned that it was, during American history, she had a very difficult time sitting in class listening to American history and then going back and mingling amongst other people, you know, because she didn't want to hear about the fact that slaves were raped. She didn't want to hear that black people were slaves. And she felt that people were picking on her because of the way she looked and things like that. And now, don't get me wrong, I could go even further on to talk about some of the traumas that some of my patients have experienced in their earlier years. And now they're in their 70s and 80s, and they still have these traumas that are very real experiences for them. Hey, Lisa, how are you? Awesome. So what I see is when we explore the amount of trauma that people have experienced, it's sometimes very difficult for us to separate our present day from then, even in the revisiting of it. So that's why I say I more so ascribe to like what's that guy name? Morgan Freeman. I ascribe to what Morgan Freeman feels when he says that the way that we mitigate racist issues in America is to stop talking about the racial divide, stop talking about racism, stop talking about this. Because if we stop having these conversations, the conversation will die, but also the trauma associated with it will die. And our children won't continue these same cycles of behaviors that keep us held back in our mindsets. So you say yes, but African Americans are still segregated today. Chicago, Milwaukee, Southern states, schools, and Northeast. So when we talk about segregation, right, what we're talking about is laws that restrict people from living in spaces. That is segregation. And that's one of the things that I talk about. So, modern day people, when you guys make these references, even when you make references to slavery, the problem is that being people who are now trying to identify with something, some piece of history that gives way to you understanding better where you come from and things like that as Americans, you sometimes will implement these same practices or mindsets of back then into your here and now. But these are things that don't exist now. There are no laws that move to normalizing or approving or making regulatory authority around segregation. There just aren't. Whether people choose to segregate themselves is a whole different conversation. And that's why I was saying that black people do still have a very separatist mindset to where they feel like, okay, well, I need these individual spaces. We don't need white people because white people make it very uncomfortable for us. One of the things that Money Boy Trey was talking about on his channel the other night is racial anxiety. And it is something, it is sort of a specific phobia for many people. They don't want to be in spaces where people of certain races are because they've been told a certain thing, and that narrative has moved to shape their understandings of human relations in a way that say a divide is better than inclusion, even though we've already gone through that. Like phasally, we should be out of that phase of development as a society and we should be on to the next. But there is a breakdown. Okay. So the breakdown systemically is the fact that as we transition from this phase and we're moving into this phase, no information got passed down. And that's why I mentioned about my family reunion and things like that, because I think amidst seeing that, what that looks like for us, that's your information sector. How many people who are watching still go to family reunions? How many of you have had a family reunion in the last 2 years? Type a one in the chat if you've had a family, been a part of your family reunion in the last 2 years. Type a one in the chat. If you've been to a family reunion in the last 5 years, a two in the chat. And if you've never been to a family reunion at all, there has been no reunions that are official in its capacity, research that goes along with it, and all that good stuff. Here's history taken in presentation. If you've never done it at all, then type a 5 in the chat. So let me see. And then I'm going to post. Let me see. Give me just a second. I'm going to go to this. Anybody else besides the Al show? Don't be embarrassed. I'm not judging you guys. Hold on a sec because I'm going out of the screen. Give me just a moment. I'm going to come back into. After I post this. Okay. So now let me come back over here. Okay, so now let's see. So the urban therapist says you have one every year. So have you been to the last two? Or how long has it been? Ain't been to a reunion in maybe 6 years. Last time I did, I was made fun of for being a vegetarian. Really? Are you being serious? Because my kids are vegetarian too. Well, some of them. Okay, so two. So no wands. Your entire family is childish. I mean, like, are we talking immediate family or expanded family? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of members. So for the official urban therapist, I sent you the link. Send it to Moneyboy Trey so you guys can come up. So and once these two, I have a call that I'm going to initiate with a person that I want to share their perspective on the show, and you guys will be able to hear the audio from the phone call or whatever. But I think that it's definitely going to play into the context of how it is or how we connect and how we identify, especially as people that identify with Black and Brown community. I'm going to invite him in because he is African, um, African Americanish. He's in transition. He's applied for his citizenship or whatever, but he's not an official citizen yet of America. But his origin is from Africa. He's from Nigeria, and he's going to share some. He's going to respond to the questions that if you guys have any questions you want to ask him, you could definitely do that. Um, you know, but it is. Let me see. So we don't have any ones besides the official urban therapist.
One every year.
This guy. So official urban therapist. Did you go to? So you said we have one every year, right? How many are you participating in, sir? And then my next question for you guys, even the ones that typed the two, right, who are at least doing a family reunion within 5 years, so like every 4 years or so. For those ones, I want you guys to tell me how many family members have you noticed have been present at the family reunions, and then how many people are keeping in contact with family after they meet family or new family, right? Said, oh, so he is going to respond as a person who lived outside of America, but he's going to talk on American issues. That makes no sense. You should speak based on a guy outside of America not knowing USA. So that's an
I've been
interesting assumption for you to make.
I've I've been to every last one of my family reunions. Matter of fact, we just got to having one.
Stop
We
lying. Get off.
we
Look,
do.
you're not going to
We
talk
do.
over me.
We do. But we have our family reunion every 4th of July. Every 4th of July.
4th of July. That is not a family reunion. Fourth
That
of
is a
July
family reunion.
is a 4th of July celebration. How many
No,
people
that's a
are in attendance?
family reunion.
How many people are in attendance?
50 or more.
That's it,
I said 50 or more.
or more.
Maybe more than that.
What kind of
Because
t-shirts?
because we have family from all over. We have family here in Texas, Louisiana, California, all over.
So they're all coming for the event though.
In Texas
Every
every
time.
year. Every year.
So for your committee, right? For the people that are putting together the family reunion, what are some of the content that you guys are covering?
For us, like what? Talking about for us like putting it together or
Yeah,
the
like what trips
activities or
are y'all
what?
taking? Like who's showing the slideshows of the history taken of the family members, and the family tree, who's connected to whose line.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Well, they do it according towards generations. So like now
Yeah.
my yeah, now my mother and her brothers and all their generations, they're carrying over the torch now where they doing the family tree and the history and all the stuff there. Then they also plan the activities and other stuff too. But they do it every year.
So every year,
Every year.
and y'all gonna be super broke. How much are y'all paying per person?
So a lot we be trying to put together, but
I'd be super broke if I were going to you guys' this family reunion because I have 11 kids. So
yeah.
I ain't coming.
11.
Catch me virtually. Can somebody video tag? Can somebody face? I'm just playing. But
Now,
no, it could be
now
expensive.
the one that we just had this past
Mhm.
4th of July, that was the smallest one that we ever did. That was the smallest one. So, but other than that, it normally be like family coming in from all over. Then everybody be knowing about it almost a couple of years in advance because they be sending out invitations and everything. Then they take a one pool about who could contribute to the pot to pay for the buildings and the t-shirts and all kind of stuff.
Okay, so you guys collect money, but you kind of do a pooling and provide for everybody instead of everybody paying for their package individually.
hmm Yeah,
Okay.
that's what we try to do. Because
So
sometimes people can't afford it. Just can't afford it. So we try to collect as much money as possible to try to make it work. Then the rest of the people, like for us, the older generation, they'll contribute most of it if possible.
what'll happen if the older generation stepped out?
Well, they'll pass it. They call it passing the torch because
They
that's
do.
that's what originally happened. The oldest generation, that was the one who was responsible for the committee and everything like that. And so now they're up in age now. So now they passed it over to my mom and my uncle and all them. So that's who's currently operating it right now.
Well, I don't call it the older generation anymore because, like, nobody needs to get old. I would say the most responsible generation, of course, eventually will pass it down. You know what I mean? Because
hmm
nobody over here is getting old. We're not doing that. But no, I think that if you have a clear and concise plan in place as to what that transition looks like. Because one of the things that we talked about in this past family reunion, because we do one typically every 2 years, but here the last 3 years we've done it pretty much every year consistently, simply because the family has been expanding
hmm
so much because there are so many people having new babies, you know what I mean, and connecting with new people. But so, okay, awesome. But so what we talked about is how at one of the family, I think the what was it, the one from 95? When we were reflecting, the one from 95, one of the people that we held very near and dear to us, that was like spearheading the committee every time it came to the city, that he was the responsible, because we have different committee members that are, meant to cover certain cities because we're in every single state. So we'll have specific families in that state that's meant to represent the city that we're going to have the family reunion in that particular city, and we'll cover the history as it applies to our family line in that particular state to make these young people more aware of where they came from. And then we'll do a separate presentation that reflects on the other cities and the other informationals and the extensions and things like that. But we also have a very comprehensive way of keeping in contact with one another. And now we even have a Facebook group because it's easier to do social media.
Yeah, we have a Facebook group as well.
Right. So this particular one that we talked about in 95, the person that was at the top of it, spearheading it, he died the day before the family reunion. And it was devastating. When I say devastating on the entire family, and people were like, and we have over 350 people at that time coming to the family reunion, and he was supposed to be there. And he was one of those people that, every time it came to his city, which was like once every 6 years or so, he was like, okay, well, I'll take over it. I got it. And he'll do everything. Okay, everything. So it left his wife and kids kind of like in a disarray, but we didn't know that he had already started to pass on the torch to his son, his oldest son. And he was a teenager then. And we just looked at that, and now reflecting is now he's a grown man, and looking at him being responsible for it now and holding the history, especially the history in Tulsa, is so important because that's where they live. It was so impactful. This last family reunion, just talking about how he was able to carry on and continue that effort. I mean, having all the rooms in the different hotels, the different buildings, the tour bus for the charter buses and things like that. All of these things, he had all of that to do and to carry right after losing his dad, knowing that a week later would be the funeral. You understand what I'm saying? So we have a memorial component to family reunions as well. And when we do the memorials, we are remembering the people that we've lost. Okay. You want me? You can go. I don't. Your thing is muted, right? Okay. Okay. So go ahead. Yeah, but during the memorials, we're able to kind of reflect on the people who were at the previous family reunions and we've lost since then. And then we have a separate segment where we're honoring the people who are long gone ancestors, so that people know, okay, this is the person that this, fathered this person and mothered this, and all of that. And I feel like that has a lot to do with the way that people carry themselves, because what I notice is that when I look at our family, I don't see any of the issues that I typically see in the Black and brown community abroad. And that's weird to me, because I'm like, it's a lot of us. Like, there are thousands and thousands of us. And for this to be a real issue in the Black and brown community in general, and for me to hear so many young people between the ages of 20 and 35 have these distorted images of what it means to be a descendant of a Black person and that kind of stuff, and to evolve into more productive spaces, it's very difficult for me to understand how that breakdown in information first started to take place. But I do see it has a lot to do with family reunions. I think that when people don't have them frequently or don't attend them frequently, they lose sight of who's related and where their history comes from and what the history is, and they lose sight of their greatness. So there is nothing to push them towards accountability. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Now we only talking about the that's the quote unquote good part about the family reunion, but as far as being part of the committee itself, that is hard work. It is very hard work.
Yeah.
I put it to you this way: it's very similar to what women would go through when they going through the process of planning a wedding. It's kind of similar to that, where they putting in all their work on. They trying to make sure invitations get out, everything. Then what make it difficult is the unexpected things that comes up, like with the family reunions, you have to deal with Negroes who don't want to act right. You're trying to collect a certain amount of funds or whatever you can do to contribute to the reunion. You be trying to collect this information. Some of them does be cutting up. Some of them just want to just be there and that's it. Others they'll try to sabotage because they want to have a sense of control over that aspect to it. Planning and different stuff like that as well. So it's a lot of back end stuff that happened. I remember I think almost like about 3 years ago, I actually was a part of the committee. My mom then they allowed me to be a part of the committee. So I sit on the part of the committee, and I served that committee for like almost a year and a half. And after that, I got tired of it because I couldn't deal with them Negroes. That would make me mad. How the way it was cutting up. I ain't
So,
lying.
so do you find that you have more discord amongst family members about the what you guys are going to do, how you're going to allocate the money, or
Hmm.
what the
All
history
that.
taking component looks like?
Well, the history component is fine because we all um, know and we all understand where our family tree comes from, so that's not an issue at all. But however, when it's dealing with money, or if it's dealing with food, or dealing with certain type of activities, that's when the discord happens because first of all. My mother and all the rest of them, they're highly religious, so a lot of things that they want to do, the younger generation don't want to do. Like
Yeah.
for us, music and other activities, stuff like that. The younger generation don't want to do that, so they end up bumping heads about that. Then there'd be an issue about about the food. Um, there are certain people in my family who are vegetarians. There are certain people in my family, due to their religious beliefs, they don't eat pork or any of these type of these cuisines or whatever. So it'll be an issue behind that because the younger generation, they be like, sure, well, we eat whatever, we don't care, we want seafood, you know. So it'll be an issue behind that. Then of course the monetary report is to be an issue too because uh, there be times where we'll try to go to each other family as a whole and ask them, to contribute a certain amount of money. It could be just like $10 to contribute to go into the pot, and it'll be an issue about that too.
So do you think that the vast majority of the young people, when they are in these discussions and they do find themselves in arguments and stuff, do you think it has more to do with them wanting to pull away from the origin of the culture when you
No,
when you talk
it
about the religious component?
no, we naturally have a conversation with them. It's not that at all.
Mhm.
With them, it's that they want to feel like they're included
Right.
into the culture and the history, and so they want to they want their beliefs to be incorporated into it. In other words, so that's the whole issue. It don't have nothing to do with the history or anything like that. Because like say, everyone in the family is cool with the history, the legacy, where we all came from, and everything. We're cool with that. You know,
So how many people have children that are under the age of 4 in your family?
a, a lot.
Right. So when you say they're, that everybody knows where you guys come from, you got to understand that those young people, if we keep moving through the years, give it another 4 years, these kids are now old enough to start conditioning more intimately on
Hmm.
where their heritage lines are coming from, right? So their lineage, and those conversations need to be had more frequently. If you're doing a family reunion every year, typically the kids that are under 4, what are they doing? Running around, having fun. They might be meeting cousins, but they're not doing any meaningful connections until they move into the first stage of development. So that's
Hmm.
between ages 8 and 12, right? So at that stage, they need to have some level of conditioning that's telling them where their history comes from as far as the lineage is concerned of them. So then they get a more comprehensive view of, okay, so I identify as a black and brown person, right? Melanated person or a mixed person. but these are my ancestors. They look like Asian people, white people, black people, native people, whatever it is, right? But they know the intricacies from which they came. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in that aspect, I believe that's the accountability for the immediate family to share with their younger children about their history, because that's what I do with my children. I don't wait till the family reunion, then I'll be like, oh yeah, by the way, y'all, do y'all know y'all history is this, that, and that? I don't wait to do that. I tell them right off the bat while I'm teaching and training them. I tell them about their history and everything, where they came from, and and everything. And so I feel that that's the responsibility for the immediate household. Then once when they get to the reunion, they're like, "Oh yeah, Daddy told me that." Yeah, we have a family tree book too, and this big old picture of our family tree too.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a quick introduction so you guys. I'm not gonna say his name, so if you want to say your name, you're welcome to say your name on the show to the participants or whatever. They can hear you or whatever, but they can't see the phone or any of that. However, before you say anything, I'm going to say this because I think there is a listener out there in the audience who feels like his coming up has to do with Americanism, but it doesn't. It has to do with lineage and generational knowledge. So, because he is from Africa and because so many black woke people, right, identify with Pan Africanism or whatever they want to call it, okay, according to Umar, when you make comparison to people that are from African nations, but you have no idea what their history is or how they learned their history and how they maintain their value systems, it's very interesting to me how American people can say, "Well, we'll just go back to our country," and a lot of times people think that being a person who identifies with African culture, even though they don't know where they come from, means putting on a head wrap or African attire. And that's interesting to me that people do that here in 2021. In 2021, right? So to come from a different country doesn't mean that you're vacating your value system. It means that you're expanding your value systems. And what I want you guys to be able to make from this conversation is what it looks like for him as an African man coming into American culture without having to completely sacrifice his love for his women there. He doesn't have to devalue African women for him to date American women or for him to date African women. It doesn't mean that he devalues American women. But I think that we are people who are conditioned on social comparison so much and we're so lost as to who we are that as black American people, you find the easiest thing that looks like is, identifiable. And then you'll say, I'm from the motherland. Never been there. No, nothing about these people or their culture or what the various different components of their culture look like. Know nothing about what it means for them having people to intervene or to help and supersede, you know, whatever they had in place prior to those people intervening to help cultivate their lands and so their origin. But I'm gonna go ahead and let him introduce himself. You don't have to say your name. You can just say hello and then
Hello.
okay. Can you guys hear him? Yeah, no, maybe.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Official urban therapist, say something, see if he can hear you.
Oh, I can hear him.
Hello,
I
I'm
can hear him
here.
good.
Okay. So my first question is going to be for you to identify with the audience that's listening. Let them know where you're from in Africa and what that means for you.
Well, I'm from Nigeria. From a tribe called the Yorubas. and well, I'm very proud of being a Nigerian. Despite the fact, you know, most of the things maybe you know, people might have heard about the country, but I'm very proud of the country Nigeria because I grew up there. I grew up with being born, you know, with the different cultures, and then coming to America is for me to be able to, diversify and kind of experience what America is all about, and that doesn't mean that maybe I forgot anything about my heritage or where I'm from in Nigeria. I'm very proud of it, and I also um I'm happy to be here in America because actually I'm learning a lot of things, coming to America, and you know just comparing both living in Africa and living in America is just totally a different ball game.
Do you have something that you want to ask him, official urban therapist, before I ask my next question?
Yeah. First of all, we appreciate you coming on the show and just get ready to share your experience with us. Is much respect, brother. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Now, my question to you is that since you transitioned from Africa to America, how have your experience being in America so far? Had it been a positive experience, a negative experience, or neutral?
Okay. Well, when I first came into the country, it was a little bit difficult for me because of the acceptance, the way the American people view you coming from Africa, because American, have these, perspectives or beliefs that, you coming from Africa, that you probably don't have any knowledge of anything, or maybe, because of the technology wise, um, I guess maybe based on what are some of the things that people watch on TV, some of the ways they portray Africa, and some of the things most Americans do watch on TV. They think most of those things are true, and when they see you being an African, they ask you all sorts of questions, like take for instance, like do you live on trees? Do you have TV? Do you live in the jungles? And things like that. And I had to explain to them and said, no, some of those things that you guys are watching on TV, they are not true. We have a life just like you. We have a beautiful homes. We have cars. We have all those technology, but they might not be as much as what we have, what is here in America, because Africa is still a developing country, not like American, but so it's kind of tough. It was the experience, for me to kind of like gain acceptance, or for people to kind of you know believe, and for me to convince people how life is in Africa compared to America. It was a very tough one, but I think with time I was able to get adjusted to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Another follow up question too. I know you was mentioning about the different stereotypes versus the Americans have with African people. Now, my question to you is this: did you have that same type of stereotype with American people and American culture based on what you saw on TV?
Can you come again?
She said,
Uh,
"Did you have the same? Did you have your own stereotypes or biases when it came to your expectations of Americans based off of what you saw on TV prior to coming here?"
Yes. Um, like I said, when I came here, before I came, before I came into America, I see a lot of things on TV, and and then when I came here, it's like life is not the same, compared to most of the things that I do watch on TV before I came here. And likewise, when I came here, you know, um, I mean, like, I don't think, for me, I'm very diversified, so I don't think I really have any issues or any problem with, anything that's going on here because, it was easy for me to adjust to the situation here. So I don't really find anything, bias or anything at all. I just kind of like adjust to the system and just go with the flow for me.
So, one of the people in the audience is saying, what first, his comment is salute Yoruba respect, and then the next thing that he says, how far, what are you saying? I think what he's saying is you sound like you're Americanized. I think that's the gist of his comment. Is that what you're saying, Stranger Talk Live? That he sounds like he's Americanized? Oh, and I was laughing when you were saying what you watched on TV. So I want you to tell them which TV show which TV show you watched a
Hey,
lot before you
man,
came here.
man, it better not be no Desperate Housewives or anything like that.
No, no, no. Tell them what TV show you were fixated on
Okay.
before coming here.
Um, you know, um, I can let me see. I know you. Okay, take for instance, when I was growing up, I used to watch, like Puff Daddy, Maze, all of them, and the glamorous life, and some of the things I see on TV. For me, growing up in Africa before coming to America, I never believed that there is a single soul in America that is poor or homeless at all.
Yeah.
Because with my belief is that I'm seeing all this thing on TV and I'm seeing all this glamorous life, people flashing, most especially the musicians, flashing monies, TV with these women and showing expensive cars and all that. And you know, I came to America, and even while I'm on the flight, going to New York and looking down and see some of the houses, looking very old and ratchet. I was almost like, am I still in Africa or something? I think I've been on the flight for over 12 hours now. So, and I'm looking down, and I'm like, this is not what I expected of America. I thought everything is going to be like gold. It's going to be shining. It's going to be, all that. So it was kind of, and I was asking, I actually had to ask someone next to me. I said, are we United States somewhere? The person like, you in New York. I said, so why is the houses looking like this? This is not what the person was laughing. The person said, where are you from? I said, from Nigeria. So do you think, all those things that you watch on TV, you think everything is real? Or you think, everybody lives a good life here in America? We kind of had that conversation. The person was kind of like, no. I said, these houses, they look old. He said, well, you'll see worse than that. You will even
Man,
see the homeless people on the street begging. I said, are you serious? That kind of made me want to even change my mind. Like, are you sure I'm in
Turn
the
the
right
plane
country?
around.
Or
Turn the plane around now.
you understand exactly. That's how I felt. I felt then until when I kind of settled down, and then realizes that some of those things that they're showing on TV is like American only making us to see the good side of the country. They're making us to see some of the beautiful part of the country and the good life. We don't see how people are homeless in America. We don't see people begging on the street. We don't see all those things that I'm witnessing right here now. And when I do tell some of my friends back home also that, oh look, there's someone here on the side of the street begging for money, and if I'm on the video channel, I turn it, they say, are you serious? So people still begging me, people don't have a place to sleep in. I say, yes, it does exist, So, yeah, it's kind of, that's some of the things most people don't know here. Just like, America and only show part of Nigeria that people are suffering, or not even Nigeria. They show this real underdeveloped African countries that that are not even developed at all. They're showing that to the part of the world for people to see how people are suffering, but they're not actually showing the good side of Africa, like Nigeria, that houses in Nigeria where people live in a mansion, marbles, cars, and then all those expensive things. They're not showing it to Americans to see, because most people have this belief that we do live on trees. They have this belief that um, we don't even watch TV. They have this belief that we don't wear clothes and things like that. And people still here that are still here. Most people still have that belief up till now.
Yeah,
That you
because
have
a
to
lot of people don't know when they see Nigeria, they see Africa, and they connect Africa that is developed. They, the developed parts of Africa, like Nigeria and Ghana now is moving forward in developing, but they connect those with unincorporated parts of Africa where the countries aren't, because they don't understand that only certain colonies were
yes,
only certain countries were colonized, and when the British English came in, because they only had a certain amount of money to attribute to the purpose of the African nations, and that trade-off was for them to have an official recognition in the UN. So when so yeah, stranger talk was talking about people whose people. Black people over here that have conversations with him are the ones that he's talking about. People who have asked him questions, made comments about where he's from and things like that.
Hmm. You, you know, one thing that I not respect a whole lot about Netflix is that they show a lot of Nollywood movies, and the Nollywood movies actually shows a realization of how the way the continent of Africa really is, like on places like Lagos and all these other places where it's beautifully built. There's no poverty there or nothing like that. But however, just as the same as you had the experience going to New York, and you was in a poor where we pretty much call that the ghetto part. That's the
It
that's the
is.
reality. To be honest, that's the reality all over the world. Every part of the world has a low poverty poor, and they tend to show the low poverty poor versus the well, the well lit parts, in the area and stuff. So I understand. And I know. I know without a shadow of a doubt that different areas say, in Africa, it's not like that, as they see on TV. Uh, I I remember when I used to work at the airport in Texas. Matter of fact, at DFW Airport. I had the privilege of working with a whole lot of different Africans from Nigeria, all over Africa, Egypt, all over, and they used to share their experience with me all the time, and that's how I knew a lot about the one culture because they used to share it to me all the time about what's going on. And the number one thing is this: that hey, don't believe what they tell you on TV. That ain't what it is.
exactly.
Hmm.
Don't believe it.
Like when you watch those Nollywood movies actually tell you what
Hmm.
Africa is all about. Like those
Yeah.
Nigerian movies or Ghanaian movies tells you what the countries look like. That's anything you see on the Nollywood movies are exactly what is going on there in Africa.
Hmm.
So you want to
Exactly.
know anything about Nigeria, or you want to know anything about Ghana, you watch Ghanaian movies, you watch Nigerian movie, you see how beautiful those houses are. You see, everything. That's life there. That's how life it is there compared to what they're showing here on TV. You know,
So, do you think that in coming to America right now, like, do you think that you got or you've been able to achieve what it is that you came here to achieve? Like, do you still are you still making preparations to move back home? Like, how does your being in America, how has that changed what your outcomes may or may not be?
well, when I left Nigeria, my purpose is to come here and experience new things. Change of environment.
Hmm.
And for me, I believe I've learned a lot, and and I'm okay with being here in America because first of all I'm diversified, so I'm not really particular about either being in Nigeria or being in America. I'm just enjoying the fact that I'm very basic, and even actually since I've been in America, um, like I'm not the type that I know about the culture, but I'm not the cultural type. I'm just the type that there's basic, So like I don't believe I'm not the type that I feel like I have to be with a Nigerian or I have to be with undermost to I'm not that typical African. That's how I'll put it. I'm very diversified, so I'm open-minded. I've dated lots of Black American women, not even Nigerian women at all here since I've been here, and that's what made me a little bit kind of different because I'm really not into the culture or I'm not that cultural type. I'm just basic. So
So
I not
when you say cultural type, elaborate for the viewers so they understand what the expectation is of Yoruba culture in Nigeria
okay.
when it comes to dating, because there is a thing for, so the idea is to tie them in. This show is about tying people into where culture or tradition in Black American culture has done a poor job at passing on the torch, if you will, and conditioning the people who are coming after them as to what the expectations are and what it looks like to have a high level of standards for yourself or a person that's identifying as a descendant of this particular culture. So overall, what is the standard? So he's going to define what a typical African is. Let them know what the standard of a Yoruban Nigerian man is.
Um, like growing up in Africa, we grew up with culture. We have different cultures, beliefs, and practices and things that they expected you to do. And a typical Nigerian, like let's say a typical Nigerian, when a typical Nigerian comes here, um, they come here with the culture, as in the way of life and their beliefs and what they felt like they have, the culture, perceive them to do by all means. Let's say a typical Nigerian would be the type that will probably come to America and don't believe in dating Black American women. A typical Nigerian will only want to stick with an African Nigerian woman. We want to only stick to a woman from his, tribe. Like in Africa, you have different tribes. You have, the Hausa, the Yoruba, the Igbos, the Fulanis. You have so many tribes. So a typical Nigerian will come here with the same belief, with everything that is being taught from his childhood, and come here and have the same belief and do the same thing in America, would never change his ways. We come here and always, believe in the fact that okay, he has to get married to his own, Nigerian woman. A typical Nigerian will believe that okay, a woman probably have to stay home as a full-time housewife. A typical Nigerian man don't believe in cleaning, don't believe in doing any house chores, believe that everything is a woman's job, you know. So, yeah, a typical Nigerian man is controlling because they believe that they are the man, they have to, have control of everything. They don't believe in the fact that they have to compromise, or they don't believe in the fact that, okay, I'm working, she's working, we can both, we can both take care of the house together. We can both, whenever I'm home, I can do the cooking, I can do the cleaning, I can do all of that. I can assist, my other half to assist my other half in doing some of those things. So that's a typical African and a typical man. So when I came, like I said, because I don't have that cultural belief. I don't believe in, not like I don't believe in the culture, but for me, I believe I'm in America, and I believe, like they said, when you are in Rome, you behave like the Romans. So I'm in America, and I see the way of life in America, and I see how things go here in America. I see how America is is a busy life space, where things are, like you walk, everybody walk, no one stays at home, your wife goes to work, you goes to work. I don't see a need why you have to wait for her to get home before you do the cooking, or you have to wait for her to come home and clean, or you have to wait for her to come home and do the laundry and all of that. When you home, maybe you're not doing anything or you're off. So for me, because I grew up like that, and even ever since before I even left Nigeria, I was not into that culture much. I was just a basic. I was just very basic myself. I just live my own way of life, just based on what I see that is right or what I see that is wrong. I don't go with the culture, but a lot of people goes with the culture, so they live their life based on the culture. So when I came here, it was easy for me to adjust with the way of life here, and it was easy for me, to be very diversified.
So I want you to be very honest, because it's not like they know your name or whatever. I mean, and people nosy, but they ain't that nosy, right? So I want you to be very honest about the most disappointing thing that you have experienced in dating Black American women.
Okay. Well, uh, sometimes, one of the most disappointing experiences that Black American women sometimes they take advantage of the man, most especially sometimes when he's a good man, and most Black American women, sometimes don't know how to appreciate a good man. I don't know, maybe because a lot, most of the men have probably, you know, portrayed themselves to be, how would I put it, maybe irresponsible, as in terms of a lot of the men, most especially since I've been here, uh, some are lazy, you know. I've seen a lot of lazy men on the job. I've seen a lot of lazy men everywhere, mostly Black Americans, sorry to say. And I've seen a lot of men who refuses to take care of their kids, and who refuses to be, responsible, and I think um, some of the women maybe that have experienced this man now use that, whenever they see a good man that actually comes their way, they don't know how to value that because they are so used to men that are irresponsible, or you know that don't know how to take care of them or anything. So these women, they find it very difficult to actually hold on to a good man when they see one. And some of the another disappointing thing is that some of the women use they use, I don't know how to put it. I think some of the women uh I'm trying to figure out how to put to
Call a spade a spade.
yeah.
Like, it's not, just say what it is you want to say.
Yeah, some of the women are just how would I put, they just, I think they encourage some of these men to do those things. They actually encourage the men to be responsible. Like when I came in, I saw Black American women buying shoes, buying things for a man that doesn't even work, that refuses to even make an attempt to find a job. You're making excuses for him that, oh, life is hard here, being a black man, with the slavery and all of these are like, I grew up too as an African. We were slaves too, and I didn't have that mentality coming here and still living in that world of slavery, thinking, okay, because we were taken as slaves, I don't have to look for job, I don't have to do this, I don't have to do that. Oh, I started here as a dishwasher. I started washing dishes, and from there I did housekeeping. But now I'm a mental health specialist. I even travel for Chick-fil-A, corporate office. So I started from the bottom and I worked my way up. You know, I didn't have that mentality, and I didn't have to wait for a woman to take care of my bills and all of that. So, and I think a lot of the Black American women, they do that, and they actually encourage some of the men to be responsible because they make them believe in this world that, oh, life is hard here for men. Life is so hard for Black American men, and making excuses for them. And some of these women also use the men to for child support. You know, they do that a lot, most especially when they see that as a man that is responsible, and they feel like, oh, let me just have a child for him, just for the sake of putting him on child support and tying him down. And then some of these women want to be bitter when the man is moving forward to another woman and using the child, against the man. And I've seen this a lot. I've even experienced that myself. So I've seen all this bitter side of dating a Black American woman.
So, Stranger Talk, you got a lot of comments. We have them here too. What is he doing for what's here within his family and so called family? What do you mean? Am I missing something? The urban therapist, can you read that for me? You know how I get when it's late.
Yeah, your eyes start crossing over and
Right. What's that? What we doing?
um basically he's asking what's the difference between what he's experiencing here in America versus in this home country in Africa, because it seems
So,
like it's pretty much the
right.
same.
And I'm gonna go to, well, no, he's talking about his experience here and not in Africa. He's in America now. But so let me go to Miss Sandy's comment. Says the divorce rate here is 50%. The divorce rate in Nigeria is 0.3%. He better go home and find a woman. So do me a favor and give them a full on expansion as to why it is that divorces are lower in Nigeria. Give them an understanding of what the laws or legal constraints around children and marriage and things like that are in Nigeria. The benefit for a woman to be married versus the lack of benefit for her to be married here.
Okay. So you mean like marriage in Nigeria compared to marriage in America?
Yeah.
Okay. Like marriage in Nigeria, I mean, just like in everywhere, it's not perfect. There's a lot of divorces in Africa too right now, But I think marriage in Africa as a whole, there's people tends to carry their families along, in their marriage. They tends to have their family support and everything compared to here, so far, just like in Nigeria, you can always have, when you marry or maybe you have kids, you can always have your siblings, or let's say to watch your child going to work without even them asking you to pay or do anything. And in Nigeria, most especially, let's say you're having issues at home with your wife or husband, you can easily maybe go to one of his friends or elders or someone that you know in the family that is, an elderly person, and report, him or her, and say, look, my husband is doing this, my husband has been mistreating me and all that. And they can easily call, you know, you know, call your husband and talk some senses into him, or call your wife and talk some senses into her, instead of, just, you know, going through the legal aspect of it and try to seek a divorce right away. So a lot of time the family intervene. The family intervene a lot. They try to settle disputes. They try to keep it out of the court system, or unless, it's gotten to a stage where you both feel like, okay, maybe the love is no longer there, or you've tried every options, family has gotten involved so many times, the church, and they also use the church also. They also talk to the pastors a lot about family issues if they're having any issue, and after they've explored all of those options and that doesn't work, then maybe they can go for divorce. But 9 out of 10, most people, maybe their family pastors, elders, always kind of like do the magic and talk some senses into the wife or into the husband, and try to get the family together. But like I said, just like here and every other places, marriage there's no perfect marriage, and the rate of divorce is kind of is high here in America compared to Nigeria.
So I talked earlier about the Black American culture having lost sight of the value systems that ground and root the way that we hold ourselves accountable and the way that we move forward. And I talked about the fact that the only thing that is different from the older age of Black American people, which were actually African American people, descendants from Africa, by way of slavery, and people who incorporated now naturalization, becoming an American. So those people being handed down into their generational lines is religion. And so religion is not pushed and cultivated in the young minds of people now. You can barely find a young person under the age of 35 that has ever spent more than funerals and weddings inside of a church.
Yes.
And so religion has a lot to do, spirituality has a lot to do with binding the confines of a person's sense of security in marital relations and family relations. Americans seem to think that marriage is about having somebody that looks a certain way, is a certain weight, or can twerk a certain way. So there is no value for a woman in the kitchen. So why would a woman learn how to cook, right? If she's learned from Cardi B, I don't cook, I don't clean. Let me tell you, I got this ring, right? If that's goals for our young women, and we're not conditioning them any other way, who is the failure on? But
Yeah,
so
growing up in Africa, when I was growing up, both men and women are expected to be in the kitchen. When I was growing up, if you don't stay in the kitchen, you don't be part of being in the kitchen, helping my mom to pass one or two things to her while she's cooking. You're not gonna eat. You know, then I mean, my dad will instruct that anyone that refuses to stay home while my mom is doing the cooking, or is it, or maybe when it's your turn to be in the kitchen and help, because we take turns. Both the boys and the girls will take turns. If your turn is to be there to assist her while she's cooking, that means you're learning how to cook at that particular moment. So we grow up learning how to cook, both the boys and girls from a younger age. And if you're not there while she's doing that cooking, forget the fact that you're gonna eat that night. So that's why you see a lot of African men can actually cook. They learn we raised to be independent, not to depend on a woman to do anything for us. Unless the man chose to just want to be controlling and have live that typical life of okay, a woman has to do things for me, has to cook for me, and all of that. So as a woman in Africa, they are raised to learn how to cook from their teenage age. So like it's a must, not an option or a choice. So yeah.
that the way child support is developed and the way that the American system is set up when it comes to attributing custody to the children in America, primarily to the mother instead of the father, versus how it is in Africa. Do you think that that's a big issue? And do you think that that's something that contributes to the maintenance of the issue?
I mean, for me, I don't see anything I don't really see anything wrong in child support. I think child support should be meant for men that are not the shows sign of being irresponsible towards their kids. Not for every man. There are some women, like I said, some women that just want to take advantage of you, just put you on child support, just the fact that they want to use that to tie you down,
Mm-hmm.
to get something from you that they're actually not spending that money directly, on the kids. Child support should be meant for men that are irresponsible or show sign that they don't want to be supportive. They don't want to support the kids. Not for every man, not for a man that you know that you can easily ask him to do something for his or her kids, and the man will willingly do it without even you taking him to court for child support. So that's my intake on that. And I think a lot of those things also make the men not to even some of the men not to care any longer, because they believe like, okay, well, you place me on child support, I'm paying child support now. I don't care any longer. All you do is just get your money and just go. And they actually don't really even have a bond with the kids, all because they've been placed on child support. So for me, I don't see anything wrong in it, like I said, but it should not be for every man. Child support should be for men who chose, like, who have shown sign of being irresponsible, so that the system can force them to get something out of them to support the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise, the mother should use the money wisely on the kids, but not on themselves. So, but a man that is responsible, that that is actually going to take care of his kids, why do you have to go and place him on child support? That's my intake on
How
that.
do you feel about that, urban therapist?
My question is the child support system the same in Nigeria as it is in America?
In Nigeria, there is no child support system.
And why is that so?
Can you tell them why that is?
There is no child support system because they believe, like, they believe in the fact that they believe in they don't believe in that. I don't think they even enforce it, because most men do take care of their kids. They do take care of their kids, whether they are with the woman or not. They take care of their kids, and that's why I believe they didn't really enforce the issue of child support at all. I mean, but sometimes the men might also, some men also, they do take the advantage of the fact that maybe if the woman decided not to be with them any longer, most times Nigerian women will take their kids along with them. So the man might refuse to support those kids. But in most cases, like I said, the family always intervene. The family might intervene and say, look, I know you're not with the child's mother any longer, but you should take care of your child. You should support her. You know, 9 out of 10, the man will do we rethink and feel like, okay, it's true. I needed to take care of my kids, and they work something out within themselves.
Now, I have another question too. You was mentioning earlier about the traditional values in Africa versus in America. Now, there are a lot of viewers right now that they're hearing your story, and it appears that your traditional values from Africa is way better than America. So why would you convert from your traditional values and take on the more American values right now?
And I think that's a valid question too, because like I think that you need to give them some context of the way that you decide to defy the odds of your culture from a very young lad.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, like I said, when I was growing up, I grew up with cultures, but um, I didn't believe much in the culture. I think I was just kind of different. I grew up different. Um, you know, I respect the culture, but I'm not the culture. I wasn't the cultural type growing up at all, and that's the point. And that's what made me when I came here. I became very diversified. I just believe in what is right and what is wrong. You know, so like, I mean, the culture, the you know, growing up in Nigeria helps you to emold me into a better man. I think it makes me more responsible, you know, than when I came into America. You know, I just kind of adapt to the system here, but at the same time, you know, I just remain myself. You know, it's, like I said, still have some men that comes here and they hold on to that culture very strongly. They don't, you know, they don't let go of the culture. You know, in America, I don't know if there's a culture. I don't know if you guys have any culture at all.
There you go.
I'm not sure.
That's because, to me, like literally, that is what I'm getting at. Because I feel like in America, Black Americans refuse to accept American culture as their own culture. And the first thing that you see Black Americans do is identify and say, well, we're descendants of Africa. I'm going back home to Africa. What Africa are you going back home to?
You have to actually find your DNA to trace it back to where you're from, so you can learn their culture.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
And so, yeah, so you can't assume that every
can't-
culture
exactly.
in Africa is your culture.
Mm-hmm. You have to.
So I think that Americans here, because they're so lost, and like I said, without having consistency and going to like family reunions and handing down history, taking facts and stuff like that, Black Americans don't want to face difficult truths, to the fact that there are no excuses for them not doing, not being, not becoming, not being successful. They always want to say the white man this and the white man that, white man got in my way. Where is the white man? What is his name? Does he have a whole name? Let's sue him together. If you go find him, I'm going to advocate for you. Find that white man, okay? Let's find him, because that man is infamous.
Yeah,
that's like the number one thing.
Mm-hmm. So for me, that's one of the things that I did experience when I first got here, with the excuses about, you know, we were taken as slaves, we were this, and I like, okay, I grew up from Africa. We were slaves as well.
Exactly.
So, but my mindset have changed to move on with your life and find a job. Leave, you know, get you a job, stay on your job, you know, keep your job so you can have a better life, and stop making excuses about the white man took this. That's why you don't want to work, or you don't, you don't think you working at McDonald's is too big for you. You know, you think,
and
you know, starting at Wendy's is too big for you. No, unless I get a better job, I ain't going to Wendy's to work. And then you stay home, you don't have no money, you can't even support your kids.
Right. And that's my biggest thing. And I didn't want to say it because I wanted you to say it out of your own mouth, so you're not influenced by me. By the way, he don't watch this show, so he don't know what I talk about on here.
Yeah. So, you know,
so you didn't pay him?
This is some of the things that I do experience. Like with, okay, you don't have a job. Or you finally found a job working at Chick-fil-A, and you decided to quit the job. You think it's not paying enough, and instead you would rather stay at home or wait. Depend on unemployment, you know, and things like that. I see some of those things. Mm-hmm. But we African, we always, so we don't mind taking up any job, you know, to the point where we find something better. You know, like I said, when I came in, I started as a dishwasher. When I was in Nigeria, I worked with a firm of chartered accountants. I worked with auditors. And when I came into America, and I believed like I have to start somewhere. I can't just, you know, find a job and be this, you know.
And that's the biggest thing. And I wanted you to be able to say that by yourself too.
You know,
what
I
your
started
life
somewhere.
looked like there versus here.
Yeah. So when they told me, oh, the job that we have for you is dishwasher, I said, no problem, as long as I'm going to be making money.
Because American men will say, oh, they want to pay us these low wages, and that's beneath me. This is beneath me. I think the pride restricts American men from stepping into places to where they can become better, or they can do their, the most prideful work and the most rewarding work. Everybody's looking for instant gratification versus working hard and, gravitating to a life from hard work.
hmm And I started as a dishwash. Then now I'm making four times of what I started making back then when I started, because I had to work my way up. I didn't mind taking up any job until I get to this point. So I didn't have to make excuses about, okay, I'm from Africa. I was a chartered accountant. I mean, I was an accountant and auditor. I travel all over and all of those, because I just believe like you have to start somewhere. And I did exactly just that till I was able to work my way up to this very moment. Now that I'm making maybe four times of what I was making back then.
So let's go back to Miss Sandy's comment. So I'm gonna tell you, this comment is funny to me, and I'm just gonna read it to him. Says, America has a culture and it's screwed up. He's gonna regret living here if he starts dating. So give them some background about some of your initial dating experiences in America.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've actually dated a lot of Black American women, and some. I mean, I've actually met some good Black American women, you know, but at the end of the day, it's like most times, like most of the women tells me, "Oh, you work too much, you wouldn't have much time for me." But you know, this same woman, we rather want to be with a man that have all the time in the world, stay home with no job and all of that. And I've experienced that, you know, for you know, a Black American woman that left you for a man that barely goes to work. And I was like, okay, what is going on here?
It's
You know,
confusing, right?
like yeah, like I'm trying to, I'm working and I'm trying to make a living and be a better man for myself, and for the fact that if we eventually maybe work out and the relationship, works well, then we can have a better life. But for you, you rather, want a man that has all the time in the world. Maybe don't go to work, or go to work like two times, maybe 2 days out of a week, and have 5 days off, and having it, all
He
that,
said 5 days off. Good God.
yeah, you understand? So, yeah, and so I had to choose. I said, look,
They
if
want,
that,
look, listen,
yeah,
listen. American Black women want a Cole or a Tommy. Cole had odd jobs every once in a while on Martin. Tommy had has anybody found out where Tommy worked? Has Tommy ever really gone to work? Like, I still to this day.
No, no one. Them type of women. They want them old dusties. That's what they want. The ones that they only
Trash,
have a
trash
hustle going
bag,
on.
three trash bags carrying struggle dusty. I'm trying, y'all. I'm trying. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. Shout out to Cynthia G for giving me that great term. I'm gonna get it. Okay. But so Miss Sandy says, now ask him if Nigerian women feel the same way. You mean in relation to where American women want a guy that's at home for 5 days and working for two? Tell me you're a Cole.
mm.
Answer that.
You said what?
She said, do Nigerian women feel the same way as American women?
Um,
Expectations of their husband?
no, because Nigerian women, you know, I don't. Do you mean the Nigerian women here in America, or
Right.
Nigeria, or
She
in
means in
Nigeria?
Nigeria. So for clarification, you guys, people who African American or Nigerian Americans are still African Americans, if that makes sense. So you guys understand. So Nigerian women that are in Nigeria, those are Nigerian women. And even though their culture is still changing, Now, the last 10 years, their culture has changed a lot, like strip clubs, you name it.
Yes.
But there is an overall standard. So yeah, she's talking about the expectations of how often the man is working or the provisions that he's responsible for in the household. Do you feel like Nigerian women would settle for you working 2 days and not bringing home no bacon?
No, Nigerian women believe, they believe that the man has to be they have to be the man. So they believe that the man goes to work, the man has to work at least 4 or 5 days a week. So they're used to that system of the man going to work at least 5 days a week, to earn a living, to earn income. So they are used to that. They're used to the fact that the man is, might be gone from morning and come back at night, every day, just to earn a living. So yeah, I think it's something that they are used to compared to, I guess, Black American women here, because they believe like, okay, if you have to work 5 6 days a week, um, you probably won't have time for me.
So I gotta ask this one so that we can debunk the myth. So I don't know if you know, it's a guy on the internet. His name is Kevin Samuels, and he says that when a man works and earns, a high amount of income, he should basically be exercising his options, and women have to learn in America to be more silent and subservient like Nigerian women. But I think what he's really referring to is the old version of the
Yes,
Nigerian women, because he don't
that's the
understand what's
old
going on
version.
now. Right.
Yeah.
But do you feel like Nigerian women settle for Nigerian men cheating and exercising their options sexually?
No,
Somebody send this over to Kevin Samuels for his next show.
those were like, I think those were the old beliefs.
Yeah.
Things are evolving a lot now in Africa. You know, um,
He did
not
answer the
anymore.
question. Who said he didn't answer the question?
Right.
He answered the question. Am I not holding it up well enough? But yeah, he answered. The one about Nigerian women feeling the same way. He said that Nigerian women feel like the men have to work, not that the man needs to be home and giving them attention instead of out there making the money. He has to be a man. So the expectation is quite different. So, I want to, is there anything else that you wanted to ask him before I let him off the line?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now I now I had my experience with dating American Nigerian women. Now my question to you is this is um why do the Nigerian women have
Hold
this
on,
high
pause. Wait 1 second. Because let's go ahead and address this. So there is an overarching misnotion, misconceptualization that polygamy exists as a abundance of norm culture or norm criteria culture in Nigeria. Can you speak to the realities of that for them? Just because polygamy exists doesn't mean that's the way of everybody in the culture.
Okay. Um, yes, polygamous do exist, but not even anymore. Those, I mean, like lately, people don't really practice that any longer because polygamous do exist in the old days, but not any longer. They practice it, most especially the Muslims. It's not common with the Christians, but the Islamic. It is common in the Islamic, part. They believe in marrying two, three, four, five, six wives. But you know, lately people are shying away from polygamous now. It's no longer really something that they do want any longer in Africa. Yeah, it's something that people from the old like the forefathers from the old time, they believe in marrying two, three, four, five wives, and lately, recent time, most people are not really practicing polygamous any longer, except those who have actually been involved in that for years.
Miss
And
Sandy said, "Is this like
it's only common within the Islam. It's only common within the Muslims, not the Christians."
So, Refron, he already spoke to that. He just said it was based off of people who are Muslim.
Yeah.
And northern Nigeria is just a small part of Nigeria as a whole.
Yes.
It's not the vast majority of the country.
No, not. I would say like 10 to 15%
exactly.
of the country is like polygamous.
So stop looking at everything you see on the TV. We just talked about that, right? We just come on, y'all. Let's mature the conversation now. We talked about stop looking at everything you see on TV. We talked about him learning his lesson the hard way, arriving in New York and seeing poverty and being shot. Like, what's wrong with y'all people? Y'all didn't show me this on TV. Coming to America. We already here on that. You know what I mean? I don't understand why we still going back on this stuff. But so Miss Sandy says there isn't a limit to how many wives they can have when they're in the Muslim community, but it does have a lot to do with
money.
Yeah, being able to financially provide.
Being able to provide. Yeah. You can marry as many wives if in polygamous setting. They can marry as many wives you can afford.
Money boy Trey, mute yourself. Put yourself on timeout. Can he time out himself? This boy said, "I'm just not reading your comment. I'm not doing it. I'm not even reading it." So go ahead. The official urban therapist.
So to be honest, I forgot what I was going to say. No,
I can't. So Miss Sandy says men aren't designed to be monogamous. On the contrary, women aren't designed to be monogamous. If you look at anatomy and physiology. Now, I'm not going to say the same for African men per se, because African men can typically have sex and it doesn't go down unless they want it to go down. If they're healthy on their diet and all that good stuff, them and German men. But it is what it is. For the vast majority of the women in the world, they can continue to have sex time and time and time again, which is why brothels exist and have existed for ages and ages and ages before Christianity even. And there were no brothels where men were the main attraction. Does that make sense? Women eat sex too, And I mean, Kevin Samuel said the Amazons don't exist the other day, so Brazil isn't a thing. Brazilian women, they don't exist. East Asian women don't exist, where polyamory is a big thing amongst women, polygyny. But can somebody mute Money Boy Trey? God. But so Refron is convinced.
Shout out to Thought Boy Summer.
In Africa, Muslims make up the biggest percentage of the population in Nigeria. That's what his comment is.
I mean, Christians are more than Muslims in Nigeria, but polygamous is mainly mainly with the Muslims. You might have one of like maybe 2% of the Christians also practicing polygamous, but mostly the Islamic.
So do you feel like, as a man, do you feel like you need multiple wives? Like, do you feel like, you ascribe to the same, because there are being somebody that has been exposed to polygamous marriages and stuff like that, relationships, do you feel that you're a person who could have 5 or 6 wives or 2 or 3 wives?
No.
Why not?
I mean, for me, I don't see the need for, to have 2 wives. I think you have one, and you're happy with each other. You can explore with each other, give each other full attention, and all of that. I think that should be good enough some of the reason why they practicing the polygamous is just something that these forefathers started, and they believe they should pass it on to one generation or the other. It's not something that is compulsory. So, and I mean, I just don't see a need for two wives. I just think you have one person that you can share, your life with. You can, explore together, do things together, build an empire together, love one another. I think that for me, the
Stop
best thing.
posting Trey comments. Okay, so Money Boy
Yep.
Trey is convinced that if that you need more than one woman, and that put two women in front of you right now and they both want to get married to you, you're gonna take both wives. So he says that you're lying. What do you think?
No, because it's all. I mean, it's all about mentality. My mentality is not there. For me, it's all about the fact that I would like to just be with one person that I can explore with, I can share everything with. I mean, just having one is the problem. Then you want to have two wives. That's a double problem for you. So I mean, for me, I don't have that. I mean, I grew up as a Christian. I grew up in a Christian home. My dad and my mom, and that's it. I didn't grow up in a polygamous family. A lot of time, people who have that mentality are the ones that grow up in that same setting. They grow up, in a polygamous, setting, and they still want to continue that. For me, I don't.
Yep.
I'd
Yep.
rather
Go
have
ahead.
one wife.
Go
Yep.
ahead.
Yep. Yeah, brother. I believe that you're giving the nice answer to that. But I'm gonna rephrase it. This is the true answer.
Okay.
He's saying the reason why he don't want to deal with more than one wife because it's
No, he
already
doesn't
hard
say.
enough as it is dealing with
Right.
one.
Exactly. That's what he's
It's
saying.
already
This is
hard
not
enough as it is
explaining.
dealing with one. So why you
Yeah.
want to deal with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? So that's
Yeah.
way too much
He's not,
extra to be
and
dealing with.
he's not an arguer. I'm gonna be honest about it. He's not into arguing with women. Like if you have an argument, it's in his nature to be dismissive. Dismissive. Like you
But
literally
I
gotta
got you, brother.
throw
I
him
got
with
you,
an
brother.
iron or something like that in order for him to even give you an argument. Like, okay, you did this. Okay, I'm sorry. Is that what you wanted? You're looking for an apology. That's the kind of person he is. He has a really good heart, and he's one of those people that's just like, why go through all the extra drama? You see
Hmm.
what I'm saying? So I think people have to stop over generalizing, what it means
I
for
think
people
most
to
people
be.
also that practice polygamous in Nigeria, they're not finding it easy at all. So I don't think they don't wish. I don't think they ever wish they want to be in that setting any longer, because there's so much drama that comes with two wives, three wives in Nigeria. They fight every day, nearly every day. I mean, they might seem to pretend like they want to get along, but deep down, they just might not like each other. So why would you want to put yourself as a man in that situation? You know, where
Somebody
you
mute
have
Money
to,
Boy Trey.
where you have to deal with where you have to deal with those headaches, where you can
Trey,
easily
put
just
yourself in timeout.
you can easily deal with one wife and just and just enjoy your life, instead of dealing with two, and they fight each other every day, and and all of that. And that's exactly what I mean, I lived around people that are polygamous back when I was in Nigeria, and they don't find it easy at all. It's the wives, they always fighting each other. They always argue because they always they want time with the man, and they want their children to be the first. They want their children to be more successful than the other one. There's a lot that comes with it. Trust me.
Yeah, that even goes with the whole concept about being a cheater too, because it just take way too much energy to do
So
that.
much.
It's way too
Exactly.
much energy.
too much energy. Mostly for the man. I mean, you're going through hell dealing with 2, 3 wives because there's no way they don't like each other. They want one wife, want the other, want our own kids to be better than the other one. You know, because at the end of the day, whatever property that you have, one person want, they all want to make sure that they be the one to take the most part. So you can imagine some of the stress that comes with it.
So just for a second, Refron, how many years did you live in Africa? And where are you from? So staying in a country where you're not from, where that is not your origin or your culture of origin, is very different than a person who has grown up 30 years of their lives have been
Mhm.
attenuated to that culture, and then even after they move away from home, being in another place for 10, 11, 12 years, whatever, they're
Mhm.
still very much, he's going to be very much connected to his culture. Like he still has siblings there, family there. He has to still talk to them every day. If you're very much American, so as an American, you going and exploring other cultures doesn't make you the same or in alignment with those cultures. Those cultures will allow you to see what it is that they're willing to show you, but you've not gone to their primary schools, you've not gone to their secondary schools, you're not gone through their experiences in their village and their culture. They're not going to welcome you in and give you all their truths. Who does that? Do you, as a black person, do you see African people standing on the corner after they've gotten off of a plane and say, "Hey, sir, come on with me. Come sit at my house with me and my wife and let me show you how we do things"? Do you do that? Anybody?
Mhm.
Anybody on the chat? Somebody tell me they do that. Say yes. Tell a lie.
Yeah, there nothing too. He mentioned talking about that it's in the man's nature and stuff, right? It's a lot of things that are in human nature to do, but we choose not to do it.
Exactly.
Different things, even with homosexuality and stuff, deep down, it's part of our
Right.
nature when you
That's
think
a part
about
of
it.
your nature.
It's
In the
part of your
beginning,
nature.
yeah, in the beginning of the world where men were raging wars over property and things like that before civilization overtook all of that. Guess what? Men were having sex. Let's go back to Kevin Samuels and give that guy good credit for mentioning that it's natural for a man to want to have sex with young men. But that's what he was talking to you guys about, right? With the squires.
Hmm. Yeah. So just because it's in nature to do it, you still, as a human, you still have a choice whether you want to do that or not. Now, if you choose to do that, then hey, that's you. But you can't just generalize that
Andy.
with every person.
Miss Sandy said it's not a part of a man's nature. Well, we're just saying that this is a part of norm culture for men since men were created and were having wars.
Hmm.
So it's definitely a part of the beginning and the becomings of a man. It doesn't matter what we would like to call it or what we would like to identify with or we would like to run away from. That's the point. So this is a man who is from Nigeria in Africa, and I hate it when people get say Africans. Like Africa is one fucking country. It's a continent that houses various countries. Some of those countries are accounted for by the British English because they helped to colonize them, and some of those countries are not. They're unincorporated, which is the vast majority of the continent. Just in case you guys didn't know that. So you cannot account for statistics that are only taken into consideration the practices of people that are in incorporated or colonized countries in a particular continent. So there are a lot of missteps and misthoughts that Black American people have. And my thing is, before you guys go and identify with and want to do all this excessive research with another person's culture, find out your own cultural heritage because you were born here. You're a naturalized American, whole ass American. You are not African American. I'm sorry. You just are not. Your parents are not from Africa. So you can't even say you're a second generation. And after you start saying third generation, blase blah, let me wake you guys' minds up. Okay, get real woke real quick. even you guys in your mindset, you like, oh, we third or fourth cousins. I mean, that's still all right. When y'all at family reunions looking at a chick that looks nice. So I think it's really interesting when Black American people find things that they want to identify with because they benefit them instead of embracing the entirety of their culture and its authenticity. And so just because he doesn't agree with certain things in his culture doesn't mean that he doesn't value his cultural conditioning. So what's the difference between a Black American and an African American is the fact that these people never lose sight of their culture. What is wrong with American people knowing that you were born here? You know you were born in this culture, but you want to dissociate from everything that is you. It says something about the core sense of self that we have as people in Black America. Like it's really it's something wrong with us handing down these legacy lines. Maybe we don't like them. Maybe they don't appeal to our agenda. I don't know, but we've got to get into the mindset, right? And the rhythm of accepting who we are, whatever that looks like. And if we see flaws, change them. But you still got to embrace them to make effective change. So what did he say? Nature, for example, lion hunts straight. You guys are a mess in this comment. The comments are a mess today. Them muted Money Boys right for real? Sad. Did he mute himself?
I put him on 5 minute time.
Oh, the producer put you on a 5 minute time out, Money Boy Trey. Acting up in these streets. Oh God, for being disruptive in the classroom. But no, what I want to say is this. I want to thank our guest speaker for coming on and talking and sharing his perceptions and his story. And I want to say to the American men, the many American men who say, oh, it's in a man's nature to be polyamorous, hypersexual, whatever you guys want to call it. If it's in your nature, then American men, you need to level up a lot. Because being in a polyamorous relationships mean you got polyamorous money. And that's something that Black American men are lacking, according to the stats provided by your godfather, Kevin Samuels. I'm only here for accountability.
And here's another accountability part too. I know every single time we have this conversation about Kevin Samuels, we be having fans that come on to the chat. Here's accountability right here. Why is it that every single time y'all be in this chat, y'all repeat verbatimly what Kevin Samuels says instead of speaking for yourself, speaking your own mind, as though as this dude has brainwashed you into conditioning to wherever you say, it doesn't make any sense. Like the stuff that you say, and this is exactly what you say, because I watch Kevin Samuel too, and I know exactly what he say.
Right.
From line for line, verbatim. And I could tell when a person who's having an honest conversation and having an honest dialogue versus you just repeating a script that Kevin Samuels said. That's crazy. That's as crazy as people who are religious and quoting the Bible and saying that the Bible is absolute facts when it's not, when it's subjective and it can be objective at the same time.
Exactly. I'm curious about that too. The last question I have for you before I let you off the phone is going to be, how do you feel about having negative experiences impact the way that Black American men see their Black American women?
I don't understand. You say how
do you feel about Black American men allowing their negative experiences with Black American women to impact their view on the entire group of Black American women, instead of like saying, okay, I had a negative experience. My baby mama kicked me out. My baby mama took my kid away from me for 4 years, 3 years, whatever, and put me on child support. Instead of those men speaking their truth with those individual experiences, why do you feel like Black men start to hate all Black women altogether and then devalue publicly humiliate their black women, like
Yeah,
for the issues that they had with one. How do you feel about the way that they interact as a community with their black women, knowing they come from a black woman?
yeah. I just think it's not something, you know. I don't think it's anything good at all. Like black men feeling that way because you know, not all. Like I said, I've experienced a lot of Black American women, and there's so many beautiful Black American women that are beautiful inside and out, that very well independent, very cultured in their own way, very responsible, and that they against child support, against those things, and they want their men to be responsible, they want their men to to be a man. So I just think those men have only experienced those women, that the ones that have experienced that actually maybe that have not what maybe the standard, or maybe what what they feel like a black American woman should be. So I don't think they should generalize every black American woman the same, because there's a lot of black American women that I've seen that are very, very, responsible, beautiful inside and out, and they don't have those mindsets. They don't believe they have to put a man on a child support for the man to be responsible. You know, there's a lot of black American women out there that are doing so well, and based on statistics and for what I've seen, a lot of black American women are actually doing way better than the men. They are doing way better than the men, based on what I've seen so far since I've been in the countries for over 10 years. I've seen more black American women successful than black American men. And I just believe, I just felt like those black American men, they probably, devalue the women and complains a lot, are the ones that have been with women that maybe they're not of standard, or maybe the women that maybe some caliber, states of women that, that they've been with, that, some of them been with all the, with these, ratchet women, how would I put it, some of these women that, you know, just they're not all they're not of the standards. Like if you've been with women that are like go getters, that they go out there to work, earn a good living, and want to have a good life for their kids, they want to be with a man that's responsible, the man they can build an empire together, and they have that kind of mindset. So for me, for the men to generalize every woman and think, because of their experiences, of their negative experience with some certain women, and I don't think that is right.
So Casey says black men don't hate black women. Most black women are single mothers. It's the truth. So what does what does that have to do with the valuation of the black woman? Like,
Being a single mom doesn't, I don't think that being a single mom does not devalue a woman. For me, there's a lot of single mom out there that are doing so well, that that owns their own things together. They pay their bills, they take care of their kids, and you know they can pretty much do for themselves and do a whole lot more. I don't think that devalues are for being a single mom and being a woman for me.
so that's really interesting, because the vast majority of the rhetoric of these men in America are kind of like red pill. Is it a red pill or a blue pill that you guys are taking? Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's the red pill though. Is it the red pill that you
Red.
red? I don't know. Red pill is where they think that women are basically they objectify women. It's like, okay, what's a woman's sexual marketplace value? She got a kid, like her value is low. And they look at the fact that a woman being a single mother is a negative connotation against money boy Trey. For your information, that was the producer that put you on the timeout. I'm just saying, you better not put me on timeout on there. I'm gonna spam all your channel every show. But okay, so the red pill community are people. You said son need to detox from the blue pill. So the red pill people are the people who believe that women with children in the black community are less value than the ones who don't have children, just because of that fact right there. So to me, yeah, it does make sense that they need to grow up. But I just sometimes I'm curious as to how it is that black men think that that goes to say something negative about black women and where they don't have to also be viewed as negative. How is that possible? Like if you guys were telling me that white men were getting your black women pregnant, then I could see how that would go. You know, I don't see the logic. It's illogical. So if you have an abundance of black single mothers, that means you put them there.
Yeah, that means the men fail.
Yeah. She can't become a black single mother by herself. Yeah. Oh, she grabbed your dick off your body and just happened to grab the sperm production system with it and fucked herself, and she made herself pregnant. That's interesting. That's really interesting. That's yeah.
Or she could just got artificially assimilated.
Right. Stranger Talk Live. Accountability. Women can take accountability. Women don't have a problem with taking accountability because guess what? If most black women had children and were single mothers, that would be a reality that they have to wake up every day as grown women and deal with, because they would have to take care of those kids every day. No, because they're single mothers. No. So there is no lack of accountability there, because every day she's taking accountability and having to provide for those kids that came from her. No? Like, I need you guys to make it make sense to me. So if the black man is not going to take accountability for being an absent father, ergo making these women single women, or being a manipulator of women, a womanizer, then how can we even have this conversation? You understand? I'm about accountability, folks. Make it make sense to me. So, women are less valuable if they are a baby mama. Yes, but it's a small percentage of men that put them there. For example, Nick Cannon, 7 baby mamas. You don't really think that, right? You don't really think that. I mean, let's be serious. You don't really think that a small percentage of black men make women single mothers. I know you don't really think that. I know you don't think that. How many men over here are on here? If a woman came up to you in the club while you were in the nightclub, listen to this scenario. Let me run it. I'm going somewhere with this. How many of you men on here, if a woman came up to you while in the club and she was gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous, head to toe, you guys are looking at her and she's a 10. She's a solid 10. Not a adjustable 8 or 9. Above Kelly Rowland. Apparently he really likes Kelly Rowland, right? Kevin Samuels, because he says she's a 9, Beyonce's an 8. But so let's say this woman came up to you and she was a solid 10, brick house. And she's like, you know what? I'm really drunk and I just want a one night stand and I don't have any condoms. Can we go to the hotel room 106? How many of you are going to hotel room 106 right across the street from the joint where you're at? Be honest now. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. Come on. This is about transparency. Let's do it. So Casey says she's going. He said, there's no 10s in my book. Stranger Child Lie. That's the point. There are no 10s in your book. And she's a solid 10. So that means you're going for it. No? He said she's going to sleep with. Go back previous comment. Sleep with Pookie, the guy that's dumb. Sucker free. You're going to sleep with her. I'm going to need you guys to stop lying. Remember, you guys are the same men that just told me that it's in a man's nature for a man to be sexually promiscuous. Says
She
he has
got a point
a
there.
for baby mamas, and it's a story of a guy in Arkansas with 30 plus kids by 20 plus women. Yeah, but guess what? The vast majority of women in the hood are not staying with the same dude to make kids. So she's still going and having different baby daddies father her various kids.
I, I think the argument with this one is that they'll definitely sleep with her, but they're not going to wife her.
But
That's where they get into the point of her
baby
being
mama.
devalued
But
because
but also what I'm
she's
saying
not
is
going to be wife material to them.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. She becomes the baby mama. You're going to sleep with her because she looks good, and you're gonna make her a baby mama by way of your irresponsibility and you're thinking that your pullout game is strong. But I wanna thank you for coming on and sharing your insights with us, with the community here on the show or whatever. And official urban therapist, you got any last words?
Oh no, no. Well, I appreciate you a whole lot for just showing your perspective. It was very enlightening, and a lot of stuff that you was talking about, I knew about because I had conversations with men who are from your original country as well. But once again, I appreciate it a whole lot, and I do wish you all success will continue here in America.
Thank you.
All right, later days. Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Okay, so the thing is this, you guys. I know that y'all are cases that stay sucker free. I cannot with him. Okay, so I know that you guys really want to lie to me and tell me because you know that my point is made, but you can't lie to me and tell me that you're not going to have sex with this woman because you already basically told me in your commentary how you really feel about the value of your penis. You feel like you should be out here exercising your options, and your godfather, Kevin Samuels, taught you to do that. And that's okay. I'm not judging. No judgment here. You know what I'm saying? But I did find that really interesting. I do want to go back to my opening statement. A lot of people thought that for me, that I'm anti-gay just because I held Kevin Samuels accountable for him saying a deflective statement in his interview with DJ Flad. Like, isn't that interesting? Don't you think that's an interesting perception to make? Just because I hold somebody else accountable for their conversation?
Well, I mean, it could be that could be looked in the reverse too. Oh no, no, I'm seeing the argument where um, Kevin Samuel and Aldewan Manosphere would say that people are reaching about his sexuality just to debunk about his truth.
Oh, his arguments have nothing to do with me holding him account. So my accountability conversations, I'm going to make that clear so you guys understand. My accountability conversations are very specific. They're not about the person, okay? It's about whatever the argument is. When I held Kevin Samuels accountable for his sexuality, that's because that was an overarching assumption that people were making, and he made that statement. So I reviewed the content where he made that statement and specifically reviewed how his body language and his deflection and follow-up response were indicative of the fact that he is in fact gay. You said he answered that question prior to that interview with Unwama Tasha K. How many times you want him to answer that question? If you agree to an interview, guess what happens? When you agree to an interview on somebody's platform, you don't go on their platform and decide that you're not going to answer the questions that the viewers want to hear. And you know that that's the reason that you are there. You know that that's the reason you're there. Like, you know that that's the reason for this interview. Like, he's talked to you about the questions that he has to ask you anyway. And so when you decide to answer the question like that without saying any the questions are off limits. I'm only here for accountability. Yeah, but how many people that answers the same question the exact same way? The ones who are gay. Let me correct that. The ones who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, queer. What's the other one? Asexual.
Yeah, asexual. Yeah. Intersexual.
Any other questions? Transgenders. Did I mention them?
Mm. You know, that's from my perspective about that. Now, if I was invited onto a platform and the individual was asking me about my sexuality, you know what my answer would have been? None of your damn business, because it don't matter.
Right.
That'll be my response.
And that's a
That'll be
viable
my exact
answer.
response because
That's a viable
it
answer.
don't matter.
Right. But see, it's not a viable answer for you to then. You didn't say it's nobody's business. You said, where is the LGBTQIA plus community on all this? Like,
Hmm.
are we not a protective group? Is that not a protected group? Like, you can't go around talking about somebody's sexuality like that. That's what he said. So, in
I
response
mean,
to your question,
even when he went on to Tasha K platform and she asked her the same question as well, I would tell her the same exact thing. Ain't none of your business. Like
exactly.
where we seen the video, I already explained the video. Y'all can believe what y'all want to believe. I really don't care. That would be
Right.
my response to
Exactly.
that
Because at the
because
end of the day,
it don't matter. It don't. I mean that do not matter versus the type of content that I'm putting out there is irrelevant because he should have also been thinking ahead. Like the only reason why they're saying this because they're trying to debunk everything that I'm saying. They're using everything possible to debunk what I'm saying. So
agree.
if I know that, then why even cater to it to begin with?
But that's the thing. He knew that they were not trying to use it to debunk anything. He knew that they were talking. This guy specifically mentions this video where it wasn't a play. There was nothing wrong with your camera. This was your camera flipped around. It was nobody waiting on Zoom, and your cameras displayed a man on your
Hmm.
bed. Sir, we're having a conversation about what your sexuality is as a result of this. He could have easily said, I fucked up. That was my
Yeah,
cousin Pete.
I, I wouldn't even say that. I've said exactly the same way I said. It ain't none of your damn business. Just left it at that, sir. If there's a somebody on, sir, we don't seen a man in your bed, eh?
Can
So,
we talk about that? Can we talk
like,
about that?
so,
You could say no, you could say it's off, conversation. But what you can't do is go back and use the same argument that Tanya TKO said that you would use in your argument. Because I know you saw the girl's review. Like, she's viral and toxic.
hmm
I mean, I'm a person that does not like Kevin Samuels for the way that he approaches the black community in general, not just black women, but black community and how much foolishness he's conditioning into the minds of these young people. And that's a sad thing. Like, if you guys are Kevin Samuels followers, continue to follow him. Do whatever it is that you feel aligns your spiritual energy, but it's not your fault. It's your grandparents and your mama fault, and your daddy fault, and your granddaddy fault. Like both of them, like both sets of people that are responsible for cultivating and shaping you, it's their fault. Because at no point should you be so far away from understanding who you are as a person to where you have to go and lean and depend on the context of Kevin Samuel's show for who you are becoming in your manhood. Like there
hmm
or in your womanhood, like there are no excuses. But if that's what you want for yourself, if you want to be a person who really moves and functions in this world, without having your own mindset, without having the individual identity that you need to make individual decisions and proper discernment in life, go right ahead. Whatever you want to do with your life. But at the
Mhm.
end of the day, when you have no legacy and your legacy is worth shit, who are you going to blame for that? I want you to make sure you look and take a real good look inside.
Yeah. Now, from my perspective, I don't have nothing personally. I don't have nothing against Kevin Samuel as a man.
As
Part of it is because I barely know the dude. You know what I'm saying? That's part of it. But even if I were to meet him, I wouldn't have no beef with nothing like that against him unless he were to do something personally to me to put me into that space. But the only issue I have is that some of the message that he putting out there, because I believe that some of the message that he putting out there, um, he's being disingenuous with the one delivery, and it's causing a lot of one confusion and stuff. Instead
right.
of bringing unity into the black community, it's causing more and more division. That's the
Yeah.
issue that I
But you're
have with.
causing further division amongst the people that are vulnerable population. It's to me, it's just like picking on the elderly lady. So if you're picking on an elderly lady and you're pushing the elderly lady down the stairs and she's 88 years old, now I ain't no killer, but don't push me. I just lied. I've killed a couple of people. The reality is, in society, in regular lay society, amongst community members in America, I don't kill people. But let me tell you, I'm a person that will beat your ass for pushing the lady down the damn steps that's 80 something years old. What kind of human being are you? Literally. If there is anything that would make me resort to violence, that would be it. Like, literally. I don't like it when people are taking advantage of vulnerable populations of people. Kevin Samuels is taking advantage of these young people because they're so misconstrued. They don't know where the hell to go because their parents haven't parented them. Grandparents
Yeah,
haven't
exactly.
grandparented them. They have no legacy lines. They don't know where they come from. They don't know where they're going. And they're so confused as to what normalcy looks like in life. Nobody took them to church. Period. So Casey says, what was Casey's last? You need to watch Fresh and Fit and see how ugly and attractive women are chasing the top 10%.
Yeah, majority of them women on this show, they're pretty young. They're like within their 20s or mid 20s.
18.
So Miss Sandy
And
says,
a lot of them are on a lot of them like on their OnlyFriends and not OnlyFans and all this stuff too, like strippers and stuff.
yeah, most of them are strippers and what do you call those? Call girls? Not call girls. What's the other word they use what do you call it? Sex workers?
Hmm.
Escorts. Escorts. It's illegal.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Says Kevin isn't causing division. He's waking men and women up. Okay, well, if he's waking men and up women up, if that's what you guys need, then by all means, go for it. He says men have been a target for decades by mainstream media. Enough is enough. What do you mean targets?
Meaning that the mainstream media always downgrade a man, and
Are they? I mean, if we're
well,
sitting with the
in
truth,
my
are they
in
just
my
telling the
perspective,
truth, or because nobody can belittle or downgrade you if you're out there handling business? I'm sorry.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. My perspective that deals with you individually. If you allow the mainstream media to affect you and put you into that space, they don't have nothing to do with the mainstream media. That has everything to do with your personal reality and your personal belief.
Yeah, your sense of self. And that's the thing. They
Hmm.
have no belief system. They have no faith. They have no grounding that will give them their spirituality and sense of self or sense of direction. So without that, they are nothing. So they'll easily fall prey to whatever the rest of somebody else said or that other person said or this group of people said or this entity said or this invisible white man said, whatever it is. That is what our generation of black American people between the ages of 20 and freaking what is that 35 now 40 even. That's the age of make excuses. I don't have a reason as to why it is I didn't go to college. I didn't go and get this job. I didn't go after this job. The only reason is because the system isn't made for me. The laws isn't made for me. And the reality is, if that were true, all of these very famous people, I hate to even mention it, Charlemagne, Kobe Bryant, these are black men that are getting away with crimes that they committed against people of non-color, people of color, all women of any color, just like these other white men who have walked as well, but those white men are now locked up. I don't see anybody raising an issue about the number of our young black men that are killing each other in the black community. That's never an issue. Like when you bring that up, black people say that's not an issue. That's not an issue. That's just because we live amongst each other. The fuck? What kind of excuse is that? Black people have lived amongst each other for ages. You think a strong ass slave that's sleeping right next to another strong ass slave didn't have the capacity to choke out and kill his counterpart? No, he had a respect for them in numbers, respect for where they hope to be one day, respect for life, period. Now these people want to claim they're in slavery, right? But they still killing each other. It's make it make sense to me. It's beyond me. Zero accountability amongst these young people. Zero.
I have another question too about that earlier comment. So the argument now with Kevin Samuel, even with the one Manosphere, is that men really never had a voice, right? So first of all, why did it take for Kevin Samuels to speak up and say something about it on his platform? First of all, second of all, why did all the previous men didn't say nothing about it? Too.
Because they knew it was a lie. If men never had a voice, if black men never had a voice, the Tulsa massacre never would have happened. That's the reality. Because guess who was called to the forefront to make a decision as to how things would move forward and whether the sheriff would protect this young black man that was locked up? I bet you guys don't know that. You don't know that part of your history. All you know is the bullshit that media wants to continue to sell you. You guys will read whatever and adapt to whatever is in a book. Period. Those were black men, black leaders. Women never had a voice. Why do you think feminism became a thing? Because women didn't have a voice, geniuses. That's what I don't understand. These kids are so young and ignorant that they won't even go and understand where this comes from. They would rather find the biggest excuse that gives them the largest amount of entitlement and run with that lie, instead of seating themselves in their truths and then becoming something greater as a result of now having a better understanding. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. People are like, oh, well, feminism started with lesbianism.
No, it did not.
Man that started feminism. And he didn't start it because of women wanting to be gay. He started because women were seen as property for ages. How do you not know that? Because you don't know your history, because you're not American, or you're not African American. You're not anything. You don't know who you are. So you can't talk about the evolution of any cycles from any part of the world because you haven't even gotten in touch with who you are.
Exactly. That's the whole point. Like right now, a lot of people on the chat, all they doing, they just keep quoting Kevin Samuel Reddick over and over again. Don't even have a voice for yourself to speak your own truth. Now, it's one thing you speak your
college.
Yeah, it's one thing that you speak your truth, that I can respect that if you speak your personal truth. Like, say for example, what Moneyboy doing, that's his personal truth that he's speaking. No matter how it is, that's his personal truth that he's speaking. But when you sit up here straight quoting a dude what a dude literally said, that's not your personal truth. You don't have no type of identity whatsoever, and it makes you to be, honestly, it make you to become an actual sucker for not only that, but for the system too, that you saying that you don't have privilege for.
You are
all it takes for you to wake up.
Yeah,
just man up.
Your chaos. This is what I tell black people. Everybody has a boogeyman. Everybody has a boogeyman. What boogeyman have you created? For Black community, we have created the white man. The white man never existed. That's the reality. If you had a direct connection to your slave ancestors, they'll tell you the white man never existed. Slavery didn't start with the white man. You guys just talked to an African person that told you the same things. We were in slavery and in bondage too. But guess what? We rose above that because essentially the more slaves got sold off, the less acceptable the practice became and incorporated and colonized parts of Africa when the British came in and offered that contract to them. It became more lucrative for them to be a civilized society. And these are things that they learn in primary school. But are Americans learning that and learning to walk in their truth? Absolutely not. What Americans learn is, oh, somebody took us from our freedom and we were in slavery and bondage to a white man for 400 plus years. Lies. Lies. Show me your one slave ancestor, just the one. I'm just asking you for one that you directly have had a conversation with. Give me the recording. I still have one living now. Her story is her story. But she also houses the story of her parents before her, and her parents' parents before her, and her parents' parents' parents before her. You understand what I'm saying? So these are the things that really grind my gears. Because when you talk to these young Black people, they have so much information about how slavery was affecting them. How old are you again? You know what I mean? You're between 20 and 30 something years old. Like, sir, I can't take you seriously. Ma'am, I can't take you seriously. I just can't. You're hundreds of years removed from that. So you know, just know some of these things for me when these young people speak, it's so ignorant that I don't think they realize it's ignorant. And I understand the why, and I get it. Y'all are not the problem. Y'all are not the problem. It's your moms, it's your dads, it's your grandma, it's your granddad, and them folks and they folks. It's all of their fault. So I need to be bringing them to the conversation to have an accountability conversation about why it is they haven't had a family reunion and involved you. Why they haven't given you your lineage and your legacy that you're supposed to be giving to your children and your children's children. Why they haven't given you the ins and outs of what it means to be connected in a relationship in a meaningful way. Why they haven't given you your purpose and your true identity. So you can have a comforting and secure sense of self. Like these are things that we need to be talking to them about, not necessarily you, because I feel like these young people are so young and they're so misguided and they're so immature that they can't even receive anything. They remind you of kids between the ages of 14 and 16 going through adolescent egocentrism. That's what it looks like.
That's to make another point about that. Even with the gentleman who was just on here, a few moments ago, I'm pretty sure he learned about his family culture, legacy, and everything. But even still, he chose to walk in his own personal truth.
Yes.
At the end of the day, he took accountability for
hands
him.
down culture to his daughter. He has a daughter that is African American. Why is his daughter African American? Because her father is African. He's from Africa.
Yeah, exactly. As even then, he still took accountability for himself. He didn't blame it on the system. He didn't blame it on the unfairness of people. He didn't go and quote different quotes or whatever he was quoted from his parents stuff. He created his own upbringing on his own story for himself. And that's the end game right there, is that you got to create your own story for yourself.
Yeah, your narrative.
You got to create your.
You got to know where you came from.
Yeah, you got to know what you're for. Create your own story for yourself. Stop sitting up here being such a victim.
And going
every single time.
Kevin Samuels, or what's her name?
Because like me personally, I never say anything about the system or the white man or anything like that, because I just don't believe in people controlling me. I control my own destiny, period.
Exactly. You control your outcomes. This is a free country. It's interesting to me, one of the things that he and I talked about, I mean, extensively, is when President Trump made those comments about African nations or people who evolved from African countries, right? And I sat on a particular panel at that time for the President's Council. And being live for a particular conversation where it wasn't said once or twice or three times or four times. And every time it was said, my question was, no offense, sir, but how is it that you feel like these countries are piss poor and lesser than America, considering the current deficit we have here in America, and they have no deficit? If we're doing a comparison of the numbers, regardless of what the current state of their, their civility and the improvements they made to their systems and electricity and things like that, aside from that conversation, when we're talking about the actual value, when we think about the value of a place, we're thinking monetary value. So monetarily, America is in a deficit. We're constantly going in a deeper deficit. So help me understand what you mean when you're saying this. Never could give me facts around it. Well, look around. I mean, yeah, they have some very nice houses every once in a while when you go through, but look at the entire continent. Most of the continent is underdeveloped. It's not developed. Yeah, but what does that have to do with these people from these specific countries? Because you're talking about a continent now. You understand what I'm saying? Your conversation was toward a country. African people are from various nations in Africa, various countries in Africa. So not just the continent of Africa. So it was very interesting to me, the way that he spoke about them. And then when I spoke to him and other African friends of mine that I have, they were like, I'm just wondering what he sees as a piece of shit. You understand what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, we're the ones making the vast majority of the money as compared to a Black American man. Like, we're the ones making bank. Our tax records, tax identification numbers indicate that we're making a higher earning. Why? Because they come here and they're willing to work the jobs that American men refuse to, because for them, those jobs are beneath them. They're willing to work the overtime hours and do what it is they need to acquire a higher level of income, not only to sustain over here independently, but also to send money back home. So why is it that African men have that mindset? Asian men have that mindset. Russian, Slovakian men have that mindset when they come over here. Indian men have that mindset. Pakistani men have that mindset. And this is coming from a person that doesn't believe in comparing yourself to other cultures of men. Everybody has that mindset when they come to your country, but you're in your country and allowed that same level of freedom, but you find some boogeyman to say, you know what, the boogeyman white man is against us and we can't do anything, because every time I decide to open the door and apply for a job, he's standing right there in my face saying, no, you don't qualify because of your black skin. Make it make sense for me. That's it. That's it. Make it make sense for me. If you guys can make it make sense for me, I acquiesce. Until you can make it make sense for me, I still got to go hard on this, because at the end of the day, you are responsible for your outcomes. You said it's not a free country, just speech and control actions toward uplifting of those who really see. No, I gotta disagree heavily. It's definitely a free country. So that's what I say to people that make that comment is, go live in another country. Go live in Iran. Go live in Iraq. You understand what I'm saying? Go live in some of these other countries. When you live in those other countries and you become a citizen and vacate your American citizenship, let me know how you feel after you've been over there for about a year. Not just a year. We're not even going to talk about what happens down the road, but just a year. How you feel when somebody tells you what you're going to eat, what rations your household is going to get based on how much physical hard labor attributed by the males in the household, whether he's sick or not. How you feel when somebody else is responsible for telling you that your meals won't be coming today because every man in your household that's working age didn't work today, but only two of them did. How you feel when somebody's telling you that you can't go out and branch off and get your own house away from your parents' house because you feel like you're 25 years old and you should be able to get a job and do it by yourself. But they tell you you can't go do it by yourself and you can't go to school because you haven't qualified because your father didn't work enough hours. How do you feel when that's your government instead of your government being free where you can go out and do whatever it is you want to do? You can go out and pursue happiness. You can go out and pursue education, whether it costs you money or it's free, or you can get a scholarship. So I would love to know how you would feel when you immersed yourself and became and adapted and acculturated yourself to the cultures of other people. Americans got a lot of stuff that they tell themselves. I'm gonna go to Kevin Samuel's thought. You tell yourself a lot of things. You're delusional. Black man, you're delusional because you tell yourself a lot of things to keep you from getting out there and working hard and bringing home money and taking care of your families because you don't want to be held responsible for anybody but your damn self, and you don't even want to be held responsible for yourself. Somebody has to hold you people accountable, because if they don't, what's going to happen is this world is going to lose the legacy of Black America, not the rest of the world, but Black America is going to go away. Period. Period. Because nobody wants to procreate with a person that doesn't want to be responsible. If Black women have all these other types of men asking them to be with them, telling them, I'm going to take care of you, telling them, let me be the man for you, telling them that I uplift you, uphold you, I love you, I value you, why would you think that Black women would stay in these toxic ass relationships with Black men who don't value them? Make it make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, make it make sense to me.
Yeah, like I said on my previous video that I did. Um, y'all got me like absolutely messed up. If I'm sitting up here teaching my children, my sons and my daughters how to be respectable individuals and how they can want to live and survive in this country, to wanting for them to meet people like who have this mentality, this way of thinking, meet people like that. You know what I'm saying? I they like say my life. I'll be dying if any one of my children were to meet people like that. Period. Because it's to me the whole mentality it is crazy to me.
And then I'm
It's
curious sometimes as to how it is Black men feel when they become fathers of Black women. Do you keep that same energy? Are any of you Black men fathers to Black women who are on here?
so I know I'm a father. So I have sons and daughters. So I see things from both perspectives. Because just like I said on my live show, y'all got me like messed up. Y'all gonna sit up here try to judge my daughters and sit up here talking about they average at best and all that stuff. They're saying all that crazy stuff. That I'm sure not gonna be teaching my sons that crazy stuff too. Yeah, this is how you should treat a woman. You should treat a woman this way, that way, that way. Uh, stay doing this, stay doing that, whatever. No, no.
And
It
that's not to say that men don't do locker room talk or women don't do locker room talk, because I know that men have this real interesting perception that women don't have the type of conversations that you men have. But women talk about penis size, women talk about body shape, women talk about body type, women talk about whether or not they want to have sex with a guy, who's going to have sex with him first, who's passing him on. These are conversations that women have. These young women are interesting to me. Okay. And they have these conversations, not just in the locker room, but in the bathrooms. They have them at nightclubs in the bathrooms and nightclubs in the VIP section. They're all it's all about plotting and what they can get and what they can do too. Women are just as manipulative as men, and it's interesting to me that men think they're the only people who operate with a sexualized mindset. Women just have more self-control. They know how to regulate their bodies and their intentions accordingly. So when they do end up pregnant, oftentimes it's women that just aren't taking accountability for ending up pregnant because they know when they're ovulating. They know when they had their last period. They know when they're at risk of getting pregnant. But half of the time they've sized you up and they've said, okay, well, he seems like a really good candidate. He's making whatever amount of money. Yeah, what does that equate to? Is that going to get me about $1,000 in child support? Maybe. You know what? I'm just going to smash him and I'm going to do a fake pregnancy on him and then like tell him that I need to get the abortion and the abortion costs like $500. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. We got another dude that we're going to do the same way tomorrow night. Y'all are not the only one. Believe me, y'all are not the only ones. It's not limited to you. That's a human component. Human beings are manipulative. Human beings are working in their own self-interest. That's a natural humanistic component of personality development. We're supposed to be using it for the betterment of our families, to secure a bright future for our families, to work together to secure our families. Hear what I'm saying. You hear our families. We're supposed to stay together, stick together, use that manipulation and maneuverability to position ourselves accordingly in companies and grow to the top to get the money. That's what we're supposed to do with it. But for whatever reason, black men and black women are in competition with each other. And it's like, well, you know what? Let's see who can be the most manipulative to this group of lost people. And we're going to get them to follow us on off the cliff because they're definitely not going to follow toward each other. And they're going to end up with a less valuation for one another. As a result, less meaningful connections with one another. And as a result, zero legacy. So it ends the race of black people. But sometimes I feel like, you know what, that probably would be a better outcome than what we have now.
Hey, hey, Rush, I have to disagree with you on that comment you're making, talking about the single women are receiving like food stamps and all the stuff there. I actually, to be honest with you, I actually work with the one state. Y'all want to know who really received them benefits?
Yeah.
Who really received the benefits is immigrants that comes from other countries. Them the one who get top priority receive them benefits every single time.
Yep. Because the reality is this. Immigrants know how to use the system to their benefit because they've never, in their countries, they don't have food stamps. They don't have any of that. So they know how to utilize American resources to get them to a position to where they can become independent. I've had several patients who were immigrants and it was about a status thing. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to use this as a segue to get to this. And then when it's time for us to buy a house, we're going to show substantiated income for the last year. And then it's going to get us cut off these benefits, but it doesn't matter because now we got our own house. We've bought a house. We've built our credit. We've been able to save our money, stack up $50,000 in a savings account while still taking care of ourselves at home and receiving food stamp benefits from the system. Who wouldn't?
And this is the reason why y'all former president was speaking highly against that.
But that's
exactly the reason why.
That is the reason, because he realized that that's what they do. Why did he realize it? What do you think his wife was from? What do you think his parents were from? All of us can see the benefits of the come up in America, but y'all can't. And y'all are American born, American bred. That's interesting to me. That's always been the most interesting thing. You see black people stay in the hood for their entire life. Like, what your grandmother was on assistance too? Like, oh, okay. So what happened? They just handed the benefits down? Like, is that how it goes? Is it a legacy thing? Like, oh no, we have to go on and apply independently after my grandmother died. Then my mom applied.
Rush, that's another thing too. When we talking about immigrants, we talking about men and women. Because
Exactly.
through my experience, it being men and women
Yeah.
who receiving them type of benefits before the actual citizens of this
Yeah.
country receive benefits.
Exactly, because they're a priority. Because they could be fleeing from hostile situations.
Hmm.
There are
Yep.
so many human trafficking. There are so
Hmm.
many things that happen that I think black and brown people are ignorant to because they don't read. We're not going to read the stuff that makes sense to us. We're going to read TMZ.
Yeah.
We're going to read the drama. We're going to read Kevin Samuels, rhetoric or whatever. That's it.
Hmm. And yeah, and
Men get
men do
government
get government assistance too. The immigrants, they
where did
do.
you
They
who
do. I don't
lied
know
to
why
you?
y'all saying this. I don't know
Who
why y'all
lied,
saying this not,
who lied
but
to
they do.
you? That's
Trust me,
literally
this is my career. This is why I deal with every single day.
yeah, but
So
who
I
who
know.
lied to
I
you,
know.
Casey? Rush, please tell me who lied to you. Please. Please tell me who lied to you. The vast majority of Medicaid recipient therapy participants are men who are on Medicaid
Hmm.
and avoiding child support by way of making a false claim for disability. These are facts. These are facts because they know that, and these are things that they tell us as therapists. We've had these conversations in therapeutic settings where we talk about case conceptualization and things like that. Like, is he a narcissist because he's manipulating the system so he doesn't have to pay child support? No, he's just a person who took advantage of the system and didn't want to pay child support. Now let's talk about
I
the other presenting symptoms.
I done had plenty of single mothers like they talking about right now who are citizens who try to apply for one of them assistance they talking about and they got denied and they was upset. But at the
Yeah.
same time, here come a immigrant with their whole family, husband, wife, and everything. And they call it what they call them um a asylum, yeah,
Oh yeah, for
asylees.
asylum. Yeah.
Yeah, asylum. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they come over within the same time. Approved.
Yeah, they have to because at the end of the day, these are people who are going to. I want you guys to look at a reality around this. These are people who are going to use your system that was designed for your come up as their come up. So they're going to become productive and contributing Americans. Okay. What is that thing that Kevin Samuel says? Productive, consistent.
CIA.
Shit, I don't know. Whatever it is, they're going to become all of those things. That's what they're going to become. You know why? Because they are naturally geared up to provide for their women. They're naturally geared up to value their women. They're naturally geared up to not cheat on their women. They're naturally geared up to honor their women and their family. They're naturally geared up to not be on assistance and not make excuses. They come from a very poor country where they had to make it happen and they made it happen there and they decided that, you know what? America's giving more opportunities. Let me reposition myself. Let me position myself to a place that can allow me and my family to now elevate our status. And that's exactly what they do. But a black person in America will stay broke for ages, for generations and generations,
Hmm.
willingly. Willingly. They don't want to go to school. It's free education because education makes us, they're not giving us a proper education. Okay, so if they're not giving you a proper education, that means what are you going to do? Are you going to homeschool your kid? Because it tells me if you're still sending them to the same school that you don't value their education either. So for me, make it make sense.
Even with that, you don't even have to go to school to get a degree. You could go into a trade and be very successful. And that's exactly what the one immigrants do. They come over here
Exactly.
and they develop a trade and they be very successful and become entrepreneurs. They become entrepreneurs on their own company and everything and stuff. Like say for example, it be a guy that come over to my house every single day. All he do is cut grass. That dude makes so much money, but I guarantee he's on government assistance
Exactly. And let me tell you something.
making that money.
So this is the interesting thing right here. So Miss Sandy says there are women are wife material too, though. Can't say the same for women that live here. So they live here now. They're women. They live here now. We're gonna say that first. Okay. The second thing I'm gonna say is this. What makes you think that their women are any different than the women here when they come over here and assimilate in this culture? What makes you think that? But I can guarantee you one thing as a person who is a part of both cultures, okay? Hispanic population here, the husbands ain't leaving their wives for cheating. Even if that's what they do, because they're assimilating to culture over here. They're not, you know why they're not leaving their wives? Can anybody guess? Can I have a black man guess? What's the difference in what a Hispanic man values and what a black man values? Let's do that direct comparison. Does anybody know the answer?
Well, you ain't talking about me because I'm clearly brown.
Them. These wonderful people in the chat that are giving all these interesting conversations, these colorful conversations about the value of a woman and what other women of other cultures look like. When they do these comparisons, they're not realistic. A Hispanic man, just like you just heard this African man on the phone tonight, their value systems is around legacy. It's about their legacy. There you go, Stranger Talk Live. It's about their legacy. Their legacy is with this woman, directly with this woman. And they don't value making baby mamas out of their women. So it doesn't matter what they women do when they're here in America. It doesn't matter what they do because they can work through that stuff. But what they can't work through is leaving their families and not providing for their direct lineage that says that they will have a tomorrow. Why do you think when they get married in Hispanic cultures, there's a hyphenated last name? The legacy lines are valued on both sides heavily.
Mm-hmm.
The father of the daughter pays for the wedding, but he is not paying for his lineage to end. He's paying for his lineage to continue to build more wealth by tying it to another person that can now provide for his daughter and her family system through thick and thin. And they don't play the divorce thing. They make sure that godparents are there. They make sure that they have modeling, the modeling couple on their side, very much to the degree that the African fellow was talking about when he's talking about families keep the marriage together. These are symmetrical amongst all cultures except Americans. But Black Americans want to say that we evolved from blah blah blah. We evolved from African and we're Pan-African and what all this extra stuff that you guys are saying. You want to talk about having polyamorous relationships, but you don't have any polyamorous value systems. Make it make sense. This boy said Latinas are not sleeping with. I know quite a few. I can name at least 250 of them that I know personally that definitely are not going to nightclubs to pick up the guy that's a blue collar because they're not looking to leave their husband. They're looking to have fun. Period.
So in most cases, them men are not in that club anyway.
Exactly. And so that's the thing, though. I think that a lot of times you guys get a misconception, and that's why they like dealing with Black men, because they really do think that Black men are slow. Literally. I should record a conversation with Larita and Lana. Like, I think that's what I should do, because then you guys will see, and they're fully Latina. Fully. Conversations that we had where I'm just listening. I'm not influencing them. What we all got the same perception of America before coming here. And you will find out what it is that Latino women and Hispanic women and Latinx women, you'll find out what they really think about Black American men. It's interesting to me. Kevin Samuels had a show the other night, right, where he had these Brazilian women, right, come up to him, and Helena and I, we were having a conversation about it. because she's from Brazil and she's been here forever. And when she married her husband, so many people finally started to take notice of the way that Brazilian women move when they're coming over here to find their man to bring them here, right? And she and I, we had been friends for like maybe 15 years before she moved here. We've been friends now for almost 30. But when people looked at her when she was here and they looked at her husband, finally they understood. When she gave him his child, his first child, she was a whole different person. But this was a white man. Do you think that she identified a black man to marry when she came over here? No. When Kevin Samuels was doing his show and these Brazilian women approached him, he had no idea what they were saying. You know what? I wish I could go. Let me go to my history. Let me find that video. I'm just going to play it for y'all. He had no idea what this meant. Okay. And I'm going to show it to you guys. So you guys, I want to see how smart the black men in this, before I give you the context. I want to see how smart you guys are when it comes to depicting what it is that a woman's intentions say about your value as a man. Let's see. Here we go.
Veterans Unite.
Hold on, let me get to my StreamYard in a separate thingy and share. And he was super happy too, y'all. It's a real short video. Just wait for it.
Yes.
Yes. Who knew? What's going on, folks? Down here at the shops. Yes. Down here at the shops. Decided to get out. Now, last night it was 90 degrees, right? What's going on? It was 90 degrees last night, and it's 70 now. But you got to keep your cool no matter what. But this is what we're doing. We're getting gelato. That's what I call a light dinner.
Here you go, sir.
Right.
Enjoy.
Uh-huh. Call this a light dinner, man. This ought to be interesting. Then we're going to go upstairs and kind of hang out. That's what we're going to do. So, great. Share that up. Who knew? So, Suit Saturday, who took advantage? If you took advantage of Suit Saturday, let me know.
If I may, complimentary for you to enjoy. It's a raspberry macaron.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome for that.
I can appreciate it everywhere I go. Told you, man. Hi. Say hi. Say hi. I don't know if they got you. Did they get you? There you go. All right, they're cute. See, you smile where you go. People tend to be nice to you. Who knew, right? Who knew? Guys, who's that? Jim? What's going on, Jim? So, if you didn't get a chance to go out on Suit Saturday, are you going to get out? Are you going to get out and go to patio Sunday?
Who are you? Are you famous?
I'm not famous. I'm just a
Not
guy.
famous. Okay, let me see you.
Just a guy.
You're just a guy. Impossible. You're doing live. I see. How many?
Come on.
Okay, 15.
You go to
Already
YouTube.
15.
There are more people on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So there we go. We're on Instagram.
Come on.
Hi.
Hello. Olá. Boa noite do Brasil.
From Brazil?
Hi.
Oh, this is gonna be fun. A lot of these guys on YouTube are going over to Brazil.
I like your glasses.
Uh-oh. There you go.
Excuse me. And now,
It's good to be the king.
right? I look good.
Yeah, you do.
Who looks better?
They're gonna say you. I mean, of course, it's a bunch of guys. You want to try them on?
She already tried.
Oh, she's selfish, right? Like a cheater.
I'm here, so she's on a diet. What do you have?
I don't know. Passion fruit,
Passion fruit.
mango.
You're healthy.
Yeah. So
I
you,
have some coconut and chocolate stuff.
you like those? See? Look good. Frames, fragrance, and footwear. Always take good. Where you guys going after this?
Sorry?
You going upstairs?
Yeah, we've been up there. We were there
Okay.
at Gibson Kitchen. Now we are going to the region. So, yeah.
I don't know. I'm not from here. So.
So we are
From
Yes.
New York.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. I'm going to put you on that. Believe it or not, I'm from Oklahoma.
right. You're so stylish.
Yeah, you are. We're from New York.
No, but I lived in New York for a minute. But hey, what are you going to do? So the region, is that a cocktail?
It's like 3 minutes from here.
3 minutes?
Yeah.
What time is it closed?
I think it goes later than the Gibson Kitchen.
Okay.
Hello.
Well, I may need to go there because looks like things are going to close up there in a minute.
Right. Just take a look there.
Yeah.
It's very crowded.
Yeah,
I like it so
it's
much.
really good.
Yeah, we
Really
had a great dinner there.
But
But now we are looking for some drinks. Something else. Something else.
what? Like what?
Fun.
Fun. More drinks.
They're looking for fun.
Drinks.
I'll be talking to you guys later. I'm going to see you guys over there.
Yeah. Okay.
Your first name?
Stephanie.
Stephanie?
Andresa.
Andresa.
Yeah.
Stephanie and Andresa. Nice to meet you.
Nice
See you.
Nice
Say
to
bye,
meet
bye,
you.
bye.
Bye.
See you. Bye-bye. Who knew? Yes, time to go to Brazil, right? Yeah. That's what everybody. They're like, let's go to Brazil. Killing. Nice to meet you. See you later.
I had an 8-year stretch where I averaged 270 dates a year.
Who works harder than pro wrestlers?
They go, he's
It's been like that all weekend. It's the soup, man. I'm telling you, it's been like that all. I mean, I guess the guys here must be just on extra stupid. I mean, okay, I'm not bullshitting. It has been that way all weekend. Everywhere you go, it's like, hey, how you doing? You guys thought C Boogie was kidding, huh? It's official. You're moving to Atlanta? Yeah, man. Apparently, brothers don't really dress up or do anything down here because the brothers are. Could you imagine what it would be like if you actually put on a suit and came down here all the time? It's like, are you famous? Are you famous? Mm-mm. They weren't here for Freaknik, bro. These chicks were from Brazil. Thought I was from New York. Huh. Are you from New York? That's classic. We got to put that on YouTube, right? You can't make this shit up.
Okay. React. Don't breathe.
You got a crush on.
Boy,
I,
you
I
better.
can't.
Casey,
I
I'm
can't.
gonna block the hell out of you. Don't you
I
dare.
can't. I just can't with Kevin Samuels. This dude here sitting up here wearing some women glasses.
But I'm
The
gonna,
frames.
yeah, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna play the rest of it, Trey. But wait a sec. I want to point out these first things. You guys saw the comments that I put up there. Y'all ain't answer my questions except Stranger Talk Live. Let me see. He says about to pay for it. Stranger Talk.
This dude talking about he getting stuff for free when they was giving him free samples. That dude,
Honey, they do
I
that all
can't.
the time.
Man, I can't with Kevin Samuels right now. This dude here got my head hurting now.
And it's bad because what does that tell you about? Because here's the reality. This is what I see in this, right? Because as you guys know, I really don't like Kevin Samuels. But when I tell you, it's disheartening to see a man from the black and brown community think that this means something. It's it's disheartening. Sir, she's asking you that question because it's clearly hot as hell out here in these streets, and you got on a full suit and tie inside of an ice cream restaurant, and you just walked in off of the street. And in Atlanta, I know a lot of you guys don't live here, but in the summertime, and this was recent, okay, but in the summertime, and right now it's hotter than hell right now. There is no way I am going out into these Atlanta streets in a full-on suit and tie, okay? Like, I was looking at my other half and I'm like, we were going to a funeral, okay? And I was like, you don't gotta wear all that. Like, you don't have to wear. I mean, you're good with just the shirt, the tie. You know what I mean? Because I know it's hot. It's common sense to want to at least take some of them layers. There is no way in this heat that you are gonna. And I mean, at nighttime it's hot. He mentioned that I'm hot. He make me hot. He makes me hot for him. We're both hot together. Like, you don't even have to express that it's hot, sir, because your suit makes me burn up like inside. Like, it's sad. It's sad. And for you to think that this is you got a $3 you got a $3 ice cream treat, and this is goals. You get free stuff like where everywhere you go. Like, there are no there are no comments that can justify the amount of frustration and shame that this gave me as a woman that identifies with the black and brown community that very much loves our black men. Okay, this was disgusting to me. And he actually is sitting here thinking that these Brazilian girls and them saying, what are the questions they approached him and said? They didn't say, "Oh, you smell nice." You're gonna mention that your frames, footwear, and fragrance got. Did they mention anything about his shoes? No. They only mentioned his glasses because that was a way of them finding out how weak he was for them. They knew who he was. They played you. They're playing on you so they can move in and see what it is you're willing to give them. Like, that's the game of manipulation with women. Like, literally, that's just what we do. Is flirting with, as yeah, who said it's an old man? They're flirting with an old man that looks like he's established because he in there looking like a cat daddy. You are a whole thirst trap for a gold digger that's looking for citizenship. Are you famous? For women outside of America, that is code for, do you have money that can take care of me? How many times did the girl make it very clear Oh no, we're looking for something else. No, we're looking for drinks. That's asking, are you going to buy our drinks? Telling you you need to buy our drink. I don't understand. Like the most frustrating part for me coming to America and trying to learn the culture of America and things like that. Let me tell you something. In my culture, it's a huge thing for women. If you go on a date and a man is trying to court you, your way of telling them no, you're not interested anymore is for you not to order a dessert. Okay. How many dates did I go on and American men were still calling me? I'm like, why is he calling? Is he stupid? I literally had to think to myself, like, okay, maybe I just got to convince them that they don't need a woman like me because I'm not qualified for them. You know what I mean? Because you got, okay, maybe I need to now just communicate very clearly at the end of the day. Like, it's levels to this because Black men misread women of other cultures just as much as they misread their own women. I think that Black men like to say, they like to tell themselves things. They like to say they know what a Black woman wants and what a Black woman is and what all this stuff. They like to say things they know about Black women, but they don't know anything about women in general. They have no idea how we communicate. Like, you cannot tell me that all of you men out there, like, y'all, did y'all really think that these women wanted Kevin Samuels? Please tell me somebody out there smarter aside from Trey, because I think Trey saw it off the cuff. Anybody, somebody? Miss Sandy says you can criticize his appearance, but he's well dressed and he's on point. On the contrary, Miss Sandy, that is the only thing that I typically give him credit for. But it is hotter than hell here, ma'am.
And
It is
and
hotter than hell here.
and to be honest, he wasn't on point at all. It been other times that I've seen Kevin Samuels where he really do be on point of how the way he dressed. This particular time, I ain't lying, that dude look like a straight clown.
Right, and they didn't compliment his dress.
They sure did it.
They only complimented those Black. He talking about fragrance. Sir, you don't smell good. You stink because you're sweating. Like,
So he said they're sporting no Eartha Kitt's 1000s. That's what Money Boy talking about. He's sporting no Eartha Kitt's. Yeah, them no Eartha Kitt 1000s.
so Money Boy, the only one that saw that there was no attraction there. There was no real interest there. He's the only one. Said Black men misread women because they don't take the time to vet. Is it vet the women they take in? Or yeah, I think she meant vet the women they take in dates, take on dates, and men should be held accountable for that. Honey, they can't vet. Let me hit play. You can't vet a woman if you don't even know what to look for in a woman because you haven't explored who you are as a man. You have no cultural identity. You have no foundation of self. Like, you can't vet a woman properly then. You can't expect positive outcomes from nothingness. You have to have something to build off of in order for you to properly vet something that is compatible with you. If you don't know who you are, how can you get a good match to who you are? It's impossible. It's impossible. You can't get somebody to add value to you and you don't even know where you need value added. You don't even know where you need a woman to compliment you. You don't even know what to do with a woman because you can't understand her languages. Black men have no sense of self, no sense of culture, no sense of accountability, no sense of self-respect in an abundant number right now. Like, the number of Black men that are respectable Black men is literally dropping by the second. Like, we got to uplift these ones that we have that are definitely worth something because the overarching amount of them are making us overshadow and we can't even see these good men out here. And the problem is, you good men have got to start holding these pieces of shits accountable. that that's what it boils down to. Like, I have no problem with speaking on the atrocities of Black women. Why? Women in general. Why? Because I believe in accountability and I believe in cohesiveness, working together, interdependence, healthy relationships. I take value in what it means to rest in your femininity. I take value in what it really means to support the feminist movement, the original feminist movement. And I take offense to this new age crap. Why? I speak on these issues because they're important to me and I value what it is that my legacy has to live in. That's the important part here. Like, if Black men don't start to hold your men accountable, and the only thing that you guys want to run and hide in a damn corner in a closet and say is he's telling the truth that we want to say to Black women all day. He telling the truth. He telling the truth. You understand? Yeah, he's speaking somebody's truth. He's speaking his truth. He's speaking his trauma. His trauma resonates with some other man's trauma, but he's not speaking the collective truth for Black men. He is a misrepresentation of Black excellence. And it's time for our Black men to step to the forefront and say, this man does not speak for me. I don't give a damn how much truth these women that are delusional need to be given and rendered to them, but he will not be my representative.
Exactly.
Like, what's wrong with y'all?
Exactly. I do not need no grown man to speak for me at all. Period. I'm my own individuality. Wherever I believe in, that's what I believe in. That's why y'all never will hear me quote anything Kevin Samuel ish like it's coming out of a Bible. Everything y'all quote over and over again, it's like y'all quoting a Bible or something, quoting a Bible in verse. All right, let's go to chapter 5 of Kevin Samuel's verse 1, and it speaks. Like, man, y'all tripping.
Miss Sandy, Kevin does not speak for most Black men, honey. That is that's a misconceptualization.
So Kevin Samuel don't speak for me because I not speak my own truth.
He speaks for the vast majority of Black men who are lost right now.
So yeah, he speak for them who are lost and weak minded for
Lost,
sure.
fatherless, lost father. I have to implement the fatherless part. Lost, fatherless, and weak minded. Because men who have father figures in you don't even have to have your own daddy. Okay, men from the old school that had their granddaddy, their great granddaddy, their uncles. Okay, these men still found resiliency and a great abundance of love and respect for their Black women, regardless of what the struggle may have looked like with their parents, regardless of what their father may have gone to jail for, been locked up for, regardless of who died or what happened, they still very much value their women. Know why? Because their women are the key to their legacy, geniuses. That's what I need Black people to understand. Legacy lines are broken when you go away and go on your own way, away from your culture. It's not even rocket science. It's not even, advanced calculus. You want to talk about statistics. If you're talking about as one in four women won't get married, what are you saying for your legacy? What does that mean for your legacy? This is your legacy. This is your future. Nobody cares about beta males or simps or whatever names you guys want to call people because they have an individualistic opinion instead of following a man. That's a grown ass man who has been misled and had failed relationships of his own admission.
Actually, that's beta male characteristic for you to quote a man over and over again and saying that this man is your hero. That's beta male behavior, to be honest with you. Want to call it for what it is. It's what it is.
It's interesting to me. So Casey, let's level, because I don't take you seriously. But this is a serious conversation that needs to be had in the Black community. And for whatever reason, so many of you young men that are under the age of 40 have no sense of individuation, and you're so lost that you don't realize the impact of you being lost on your future as Black men in your existence. Okay, so let's have this conversation. What about your mother? Was your mother a single mother? Do you come from a single mother? Do you come from a fatherless society, a fatherless home where your mother was responsible for not having your father there? If you don't, how many people, if you don't, how many people do you know came from a family system where they didn't have their fathers? I'm about to play it. So if you want to put the blame where it belongs, who's raising the men you were talking about, doctor? So it's not about blame, it's about accountability. Accountability. And I think that I just spoke to the accountability component of the women who are raising these men earlier in the conversation. So just in case you didn't hear it, right? Let me go back and restate it. I said women, when they're single mothers, are taking accountability for being single mothers because they have to wake up every single day and they have to see these children and they have to raise these children irregardless of the father stepping away or stepping up. So that's accountability. That's being there for the experience, psychosocially, financially, depending on them, emotional stability wise, all of that good stuff. They're doing the best that they can do. And guess what? A woman cannot show a man how to be a man. That's not a woman's job. She can only indicate to a man what she expects out of him as her son. That's a boy. That's not a man. Men are meant to raise men. What happens is a man goes from his mother's bosom. And typically at the age of 12, he becomes a man by way of him modeling behaviors that are shaped for and guided by his father. That's every country, everywhere. What's wrong with America? What's wrong with America? Black men. What's wrong with you? If your cop out is fatherless homes, right? If your cop out is mothers raising these boys, why is it that you didn't go to a young man that you could find inspiration from, an older man that you could find inspiration from, a school official that was a man that you could find inspiration from? Because you're not going to tell me that you don't have exposure to him. The reality is you smelled yourself for so long and you thought that you knew everything. And the same amount of emotional immaturity that you sit with and make these excuses for now are the same energy types that you had then when it was time for you to find somebody and attenuate yourself to somebody to make you greater. But you decided to make excuses instead, get caught up with gang activity instead, get caught up with the streets instead, because that seemed like fast money, good money, long money, because you had a broke man's mentality, just like this man that we're watching right here. That's your truth. That's your truth. Hold on, let me hit this play button so y'all can see the rest of this video.
You can't make this up. I swear to God.
This guy.
I'm changing my wardrobe. So you guys thought I was kidding. I'm telling you. I'm down at the shops at Buckhead in Atlanta. Hello. Shop here. The shops at Buckhead. I'm just in here, a little gelato place, grabbing something. I'm gonna tell you, down here, there's just been packs of roving women. If I had my camera on, you wouldn't believe it. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. If I had my camera on, you guys would think women like the fact that I'm eating healthy. Yeah, man, this is my dinner. I'm having a light snack, gelato. And so last night I said the manager bought my dinner. Kind of cool, man. This is why I always say be nice to people. You never know what's going to happen. So I'm going to go upstairs, and then from upstairs, then see what's going on up there, and then I guess I'll go over to the cocktail place. I don't know where I'm at. I'm not from here. You too, buddy. I don't know where I'm at.
Yeah, from 2 to 8.
I don't know where I'm at. What's going on, Greg? I was your homegirl at Neiman Marcus. What's her name? Oh, oh my, oh my.
Veterans United presents Through the Roof Reviews with Rob Riggle.
We're here with U.S. Navy veteran. Oh my. Oh my. I gotta go try that. Are the doors locked?
It was locked.
It was locked? Wait. Is it open?
Big boss decided to close a little bit earlier.
Oh, time to leave?
No, please enjoy it.
Okay.
Enjoy it as much as you want.
Okay, well. Okay, well, I don't want to have you people tied up. I'm going to go ahead and eat this and leave. Okay. Leave record.
My apologies, sir. Please feel free to enjoy it for as long as you like. We are still here for another hour.
Okay.
We're just not accepting it for our guests.
All right.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Hold on, guys. Turn it back around. Sorry about that. Wow. So, we're going to go upstairs in a minute and hang out. It's kind of dark up there, though. So, you're right. Go hang. Okay, so when I was talking about places to hang out any place where they have valet parking and sorbet, especially in the summertime. You love ice cream. Okay. Give me a few minutes and I'll be back. Who knew? The 3F Club, right? Frames, fragrance, and footwear. I hope this stream saves. But okay. Check you in a minute, guys. Peace out.
You cannot make this stuff up, people, okay? Just to go to the same thing that Kevin Samuels ascribes to, you cannot make this stuff up. You just cannot. I'm sorry. I don't understand why you guys are doing this to yourselves. Stop following this guy. Find means to realign yourself with your greatness, your inner capacity to achieve greatness, and stop making up cop outs. Stop disrespecting your women. Find your sense of self. Go to somebody's church. I don't care what it is that you need to do to get yourself spiritually aligned, to stop following and ascribing to the ludicrousy that Kevin Samuel subscribes to, but find some sense of purpose and self and align yourself with greatness, because at the end of the day, guess what? All black men are not shit. I'm not gonna say that, because I can't say that all black men are three trash bag carrying struggle dusties.
Yeah, you got it.
Whew.
A lot.
Girl, Cynthia G, girl, that's a lot. That's a lot. You're putting a lot of energy into disrespecting men out here. Okay. So, Miss Sandy, telling women the truth is not disrespectful, but it can definitely be disrespectful if you are not rendering said truth respectfully. So, let me give you a really good example. Do you have a living grandmother right now? I'm gonna make it make sense. I'm gonna reel it in for you, because I think that for some people they don't understand until you make it a personal thing again, for them. Okay. So if you have a living grandmother, let's say somebody came by, you know, a guy is 19, 20 years old, right? I don't know how old you are, but that part doesn't matter to the context of this conversation. For you too, Casey, let's say they walked by and then they said, "Hey, your grandmother's a whore. I fucked her last night." Is that disrespectful? Or is that the truth if they had sex with your grandmother? If you know that your grandmother is alive, right? Mine too, both of them. But if you know that these are truths, if you know it's possible that they could have had sex with your grandmother, let's say if she was one of these grandmothers like we discussed with the 45-year-old grandmother that was in the club, and as a result, what was it? The 2-year-old granddaughter died. So if she was one of those grandparents and you knew that this is the type of behavior that she ascribed to, however, you were hoping, everybody would hope that's not the case. Period. Like if she's 45 and he's 19, you would just hope. You would hope that that wouldn't happen. However, because that is that person's truth, doesn't make it any less disrespectful. Because first of all, that's not your business. You're putting me in the business of my grandmother, right? That's not my business. I don't need to know what she's doing sexually. I don't need to know what's going on behind the closed doors in her house and her bedroom. That's her business. That's your business and her business. So it's disrespectful by way of it putting you in somebody else's business that's definitely not your business, regardless of how much is his truth. He's entitled to his truth, but you didn't ask him for that. You didn't ask him to make his truth your truth. You could have said, "What'd you do last night?" You're asking him what he did, but he could easily, respectfully say, I hung out with a young lady or an older lady." Whatever. He could say something, but he doesn't have to be disrespectful to say that, right? Let's see. You didn't put my producer over there asleep. So it says, it would be disrespectful if my grandma didn't ask him if she was a hoe. If you didn't ask him, because guess what? No, it's not. The women that call Kevin Samuel's show, they're not asking him to be insultative to them. That's not what they're asking. They're asking him, what do I need to do to get a high value man? So they're not asking him to rate them. That's what he's doing. He's doing that of his own admission because that's what he would like to do, to devalue a woman. And then he's not even consistent with it. The only time he does it is when he feels offended by something they said, or he feels like he needs to make them buy into his truth. When they say they want a particular thing and his personal view says they don't qualify. So he has no qualifications to even render the advice. That's the first component. The second component is there is nothing that supports the ideals that he speaks about. So these theories are unsupported, not peer reviewed, nothing. But that's what you think. So would it or would it not be disrespectful, regardless of how much truth it held for that other person? Why would you take offense? You're going to take offense to it. Why? Because you know that if your grandmother is alive in that moment, you can't account for what she does or doesn't do in her bedroom, regardless of how God-fearing you think she is. That might be that man's truth. But it's not your business. That's the point. It's not your business. So only deal with the business. Mind the business that minds you. That's a very old saying, okay? The business that minds you. When they're calling Kevin Samuels, they're asking him for a very specific type of advice, very specific questions. Kevin Samuels has his own agenda that he takes them down a rabbit hole chasing after, which is how he entraps them. That's narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality characteristics. Why is it that you guys are so... It's just because those are not, it's not even basic level intelligence. It's something lower than basic level intelligence. A child would know that a person is being slightful or disrespectful. So as grown people, it's interesting to me that you guys don't see that. And we're talking about people with a high school education here. Because my channel is not for kids under the age of 18. So by then, everybody should have graduated. Says both my grandmothers were married too. They're not baby moms, terrorists. They don't have to be. Married women have vaginas. But you see how you're taking up and you're defending your grandparents. That's your truth. And it's still none of your business to know what she is or isn't doing in her personal life. Says, my mom is alive, and if she called Kevin's show after I advised her not to, I would be upset. I would say, I told you not to call mom. I mean, that's not my point, though. The point is, if you have a outside person imposing their belief systems and their truth onto your truth system, your value systems and things like that, that's when it becomes disrespectful. It's not even the comment in and of itself, because the comment in and of itself could have some truth to it, because you don't know. You have no idea. Unless you are inside of your grandmother's vagina, you wouldn't know who she had sex with. That's the reality. But that's what I'm saying. So you can't say what your grandmothers do or don't do. That's what I'm telling you. You can't. It's proven. But you would take offense to it, and you would take it as a slight, because you would feel like that person was trying to slight you, appropriately so. So my thing is, you guys need to do more contemplation on your individual brand, who you are as people, what your culture entails, what your culture doesn't entail. Identify with your truth, okay? Stop trying to align yourself with everything but your truth that's right in front of you, because it's difficult for you to sit with. Whether you're a male or a female, on the end of these conversations, both needs accountability. Whether you are a black male or a black female, both of you also need to be having a different conversation. I find it interesting that that's what black people want to argue about, but nobody wants to address the real issue of these young people dying every day. And these are your legacy lines. Like all of these black lives that are lost at the hands of other black lives. This is your tomorrow that won't be. Especially when the abundant amount of you guys as young people are choosing to not get married, not procreate with one another, procreate with other races. So eventually you're going to start to die off as a race of people. And sometimes, like I said earlier, I really think that is a necessity, because I feel like there is so much toxicity in the lineage of black people because they really don't know their truth, that it's necessary to just let it go. Let it go. But ask yourself where your value system lies, whether or not you value your legacy or lack thereof. Don't let me force it on you. You know what I mean? It's just my opinions or whatever. But it's been real. You guys have always, you guys have been extremely involved, and I appreciate my chat. Appreciate the love you guys give me. Appreciate you guys staying the course with me. It's hot as the brimstone in hell in Atlanta. Okay, if you guys are anywhere remotely close to here, and it's raining and it's still hot, like it's sizzling off the streets. That's how hot it is when it hits the streets. Be careful out there. Be safe. I hope you guys got abundance of not only central AC, but more AC on the back end of things, and several fans. I hope you guys take care, love one another, live free, be wise, and make good choices as a result of those two components, okay? Don't go out there making nobody baby mamas and not wanting to take responsibility, young man. You know, wrap it up. Later days. Bye.
Who alive can't put me in a box. I redefine any definition you got. I am the tiger, I'm making steps to the top. The flames, I rip it up, you just gotta hand me the rock. Take a seat, you cannot stand it. All I know, the flow harder than a Scotch bunny. Don't try studying me, you cannot manage. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.